go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Friday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. Nothing much to talk about. Not a lot to get into, to break down, to discuss, to evaluate, to lament. From last night's loss, opening night for the Chiefs, losing 21-20 to the Detroit Lions. And, leaving a lot to be desired, and certainly a lot to get into today. 913-912-4810. Typically, we open up the phone lines the day after a Chiefs game, but we have a packed show. It is a Friday. We'll hear from Lee Sterling coming up later on this hour. Matt Derrick at 11 o'clock. Kendall Gaiman coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer after that. I don't know, so maybe you open up the phone lines on Monday. We'll find.
I think we might. I was actually going to ask you that today. Like, hey, you want to open the phones on Monday?
Let's
People have a weekend to sort of decompress.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it might be healthy.
So we'll probably do that. We'll probably open up the phone lines on Monday. But text line wide open, as always. You can even tweet X the show at J810Anderson, at Joshua Briscoe with an E.
That's not right. That's incorrect.
I was close.
You can also hop into the video chat, the video feeds.
That's
the
right.
comment section is a real. I mean, Dylan was there first person view last night. The comment section, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also watch it at Sports Radio 810. It becomes a really close-knit community during a post-game. It's either a bunch of people celebrating together digitally, or it's a bunch of people getting really mad at Gary's call on post-game, all collectively. And either way, man, it really is a fun way to vent a little bit, let some of this out.
Yeah, you describe it as fun. I don't know if other people would describe it that way. But, I will say, I woke up this morning. I listened to a good portion of the first part of the post-game. So I listened to a good portion of the first part.
Yeah.
Meaning I was in and out of listening while writing things down and reading things, but listening and things like that. Then I decided, it's time to go to bed.
Yep, I respect that decision.
My assessment last night is that just was not a fun night to watch football. I did not have fun watching football last night, and there are very few times in my life when Patrick Mahomes was named the starting quarterback going back to the beginning of 2018 where I've watched a Chiefs game with Patrick Mahomes and I thought, just wasn't fun. Like, it just felt like it was pulling teeth. I remember those days offensively when, you're praying for something good to happen and you almost feel like accidentally you need to have a good play. Like, you accidentally fell into a good play. And that was the feeling for much of the second half, in that, man, they can't get anything going. And the best play they had essentially in the second half was a 41-yard pass interference to Justin Watson. I don't think he makes the catch, but he has a better chance of making the catch if he was not pushed from behind. It was pass interference. People can say ticky-tack, whatever. I know this. If it went against the Chiefs, I would say it was pass interference. And it's why playing defensive back is incredibly tough.
Yep.
It is difficult to do. But that was really the best play that they had in the second half. And I know that maybe the expectation, I shouldn't say I know, maybe the expectation for tuning into this show might be, I am bleeping pissed and somebody's going to pay for it. But honestly, man, I woke up this morning and I thought, it's Friday of the opening week of the season, and it sucks that the Chiefs lost and they're 0-1. But the reason we're talking about a game on Friday is because the last game they played was the Super Bowl. If they had lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, they wouldn't be playing last night. But if they had lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl, they wouldn't be playing last night. But if either of those things happen, I would be a lot more frustrated and upset with last night's game. We've seen the Chiefs at times play games like that. The Lions are a better team than the Colts. And somehow the Super Bowl champions of a year ago were awful on a day where they had Kelsey and they had Juju Smith-Schuster and they had Chris Jones and they lost to the Colts. So I woke up this morning like, that sucked. It was not fun. I don't believe there are fatal flaws on the team. I have concerns with things. I think there are absolutely concerns that could grow to worries that could eventually be fatal flaws that they just cannot overcome. It is one data point of a long season, but it is a data point in bold, italics, underlined in the negative from what we saw last night. Now, there are some other areas where you're like, okay, that actually was a positive in that game. The way the defense played overall, I was really encouraged by. So that's something we can get into as well. But I don't know if I'm more surprised by my feeling this morning waking up and like, I mean, I was frustrated during the game, and after the game was over, I'm like, well, that really sucks because there was a feeling for me of inevitability of the Patrick Mahomes. It's inevitable that the Chiefs will find a way to win. We've seen that happen so often. And I just felt last night the way the defense was playing and coming up with stops, and offensively they had been shooting themselves in the foot, that the players would take over and they would be able to sustain a drive and put points on the board and maybe score a touchdown or whatever. The first time I felt like it was no longer inevitable was the Kadarius Toney dropped pass, not the pick six. The one with 2:20 left to go in the game, down by 1. And when he dropped that pass, and I thought, it ain't their night.
Yep.
They need Mahomes to put on another cape. He's been wearing it most of the night. He now probably needs to put on a different one, or like a jetpack, or like the Bane mask or something. I'm not sure, or put on Joker makeup, something, because the guys around him just didn't bring it. And the old circle the wagons, everybody steps their game up when you lose a guy like Kelsey or lose a guy like Chris Jones. The defense did that. The offense shrank. The players not named Kelsey shrank and fizzled and melted in the moment of national TV in game number 1. I don't know why. I don't know that it's going to be a trend. But man, there are some current concerns with last night. They are also still the reigning Super Bowl champions, and I think they are still one of the best teams in the AFC. And as the season goes on, it will continue to be a season of attrition. And when they get in the postseason, it will come down to a play or 2 or 3 in a game, whether they win or they lose. And that's what happened against the Bengals. That's what happened against the Eagles. A play or 2 or 3 along the way, and they win both those games. And last night they're celebrating the Lombardi Trophy again and putting the banner up with the 3 Super Bowls. There will be other losses this year. There will be other games where we wake up and go, man, that sucked. But we woke up this morning with no new injuries.
Yep.
Chris Jones watching the game, surrounded by his mobster bodyguards. The 2 central casting of Goodfellas Part 2. And a lot of product in the hair, I would say.
What if we just start calling them Godfather 3?
There's only 2 of them. But Godfather 3 was the worst. That is true. It was the worst of the 3.
I just think that's a devastating dig. But there have been a lot of devastating digs.
Yeah.
Many of them made by themselves.
Yes. He was not playing. Kelsey not playing. Excuses, opinions, buttholes, whichever way you want to view it. That's reality of last night. Josh, your general takeaway? I know you're probably more frustrated and you have less sleep than I do, so maybe you're more irritable than I am right now.
That's probably true. I got most of my big feelings out last night. That is both
it was therapeutic for you?
Yes. As you heard, the pros and cons of doing the post-game show is that, the pros and cons is the fact that it's unfiltered and very quick after the game happens.
Yes.
That is both the pro and the con. That both makes it the most fun thing in the world to do, and also kind of a high wire act as you're figuring out what the bleep you just watched. First, I have a superhero little combo for you.
Like it.
Because when the Kelsey injury came out, I tweeted that Patrick Mahomes was going to look at his Texas Tech uniform in storage like Frozone in The Incredibles. Like, where is my super suit? And then Nate Tice of The Athletic said last night that Mahomes and Andy Reid were doing the tryouts in The Dark Knight where the Joker walks in, snaps a pool stick over his knee, and says, "We've only got one spot, so we're having tryouts." And that's the combo. So now, for me, Patrick Mahomes is now Frozone and Joker makeup. I think
Right.
that's my little superhero combo. For my actual feelings here, I am still very frustrated and there's a name I'm about to say that I had no intention of ever saying on today's show.
Okay.
MJ Melendez.
Yeah, no, I agree. He was MJ Melendez did nothing to help the Chiefs last night.
What's frustrating about MJ Melendez? In the field in particular.
His inability to read the ball, to catch it sometimes, to just make what should be more routine plays for an average major league outfielder.
The little league stuff.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that you say, hey, in little league, I need you to read the fly ball. We're going to work on that. And we got to go 2 hands up to catch you. We're going to find the cutoff man.
You know, we say 2 hands while you're learning.
That's what it felt like last night. It felt like Kadarius Toney needed 3 hands while he was learning. And Andy Reid, who I will continue to say the full title this way to hopefully couch it appropriately, one of the greatest coaches in football history, one of the greatest coaches in American sports history, one of the greatest offensive minds the sport's ever seen, routinely makes similar mistakes in short yardage situations when he takes the ball away from Patrick Mahomes and gives it to Harrison Butker, Tommy Townsend, or last night, Blake Bell / Rashee Rice. That's frustrating. Kadarius Toney dropping passes that hit him right there in the dishwashing gloves is so frustrating because that's the easy stuff. Andy Reid's so good at the difficult things. Kadarius Toney, here's another real plot twist, Chiefs fans. Kadarius Toney was the only receiver last night who I saw get open on multiple occasions.
Yeah, that's also part of it.
Wide open. Kadarius Toney did the hard part. He created separation. He had 3 yards of space, I think. I don't know if on average on his targets, I think is what it was. Like, we are talking as open as NFL receivers ever get. And then the easy part is where they fall short. So in that way, this is a very easy game to analyze. If Kadarius Toney just catches the footballs that hit him in both hands, not exaggerating, just the ones that hit him in both hands, the Chiefs win this game by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I actually don't disagree with that.
I think it's probably factually true.
I think they win by double digits. Maybe it's not 2 maybe it's not 14, maybe it's not, 21, but I think there's a chance they win by double digits if he just knocks the ball down, or if Branch doesn't make the play where he's running to his left and then grabs it with one hand and catches it. It was a great play. It seems easy on TV watching it, but that's a difficult play.
It's an extremely difficult play. It was a way more difficult play than Kadarius Toney had, with the ball hitting him in both hands.
No, I think Brian Branch was an easier play than Kadarius Toney, who had the route, knew where he was going, and Mahomes threw the ball perfectly to him, right through the bullseye, the crosshairs, which was his hands.
He made it look easier. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But that's what it is for me. It's the frustration of the simple stuff being the reason you're starting 0-1 instead of 1-0, and also the combination here of, all right, you have Patrick Mahomes. Can he, back to superheroes, can he get a Robin? Can he get a sidekick? Can he get anybody to step up? And the answer last night was no, because he led the team in rushing with the same number of rushing yards as Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire combined. I don't know what to do with that. MVS had an incredible catch where he was about to get decapitated. Justin Watson did his job. But those guys did their jobs. It wasn't above and beyond. They did their jobs, more or less. End of list. And look, that's for playmakers. The offensive line was, I was fanning myself in here yesterday watching the Chiefs' offensive line in that first quarter especially.
Yeah.
The spaceship that's about to come out of this offense this year. And all the time in the world didn't get, Sky Moore open.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I was watching in the first part of the game. I'm like, damn, he's got all day to throw.
All day.
I mean, he left a clean pocket for no reason. He ran himself into an incomplete pass early in the game on the, I believe, the first drive when they ended up punting. It was like the first pass. He's sitting there surveying. He's like, I'm bored. Like, I need to run to my right now. Like, I gotta figure something out. Which, oddly enough, he ran to Aiden Hutchins inside. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, you're asking Superman to be even more perfect than he needed to be on a night where other guys were not stepping up. And that's the thing. It's like, heavy is the head. So Mahomes is the best in the league. So I understand why there can be criticism at times for him. And I think there are things that you can say, well, yeah, last night there are some things that he could have done better. Certainly. The second field goal that they end up having to attempt, it was 2nd and 2, and Mahomes throws it at the feet of Sky Moore on an RPO. Sky Moore's wide open. The next play is the one that hits Kadarius Toney in the leg with the crossing with Richie James and Kadarius Toney, where it looked like somebody was either late or Mahomes threw it early or somebody was – whatever it is, they weren't connecting.
Yeah.
And that was the theme of the night. is they were off by a tick here or there. And let me tell you, for so many years, if number 17 was that, people would be screaming and yelling about this is the guy that can never be on the same page with Patrick Mahomes. And maybe there are special players that get on the same page with Patrick Mahomes. Maybe it's a Tyreek and a Travis and Juju Smith-Schuster who felt like he was on the same page with Patrick Mahomes, where it takes a little bit. McCall Hardman never really felt like he got it until later on. Sky Moore, second year, clearly not on the same page with Mahomes as to where he's supposed to be or just over his head, or it's okay to go and make a difficult catch from time to time. That the third down play that Mahomes was scrambling and then threw it to Sky Moore and it was just over his head. Yeah, Mahomes, could he have thrown it lower? Yeah, being chased by 300-pound men, I guess he could have thrown it lower. But Sky Moore could also go up and try to make a play. And the 4th down and 25 that Mahomes somehow created and pulled a rabbit out of the hat, and then Sky Moore came in and dropped the rabbit and just threw it off stage and said, "No, there will be no rabbit in here. Ha-ha! Take that, empty hat." Like, catch the ball.
That's the one I didn't realize until this morning was as bad as it is. He mistimed his jump and it went off his hands. It wasn't tipped. Justin Watson didn't touch it.
Nobody touched the ball.
Nobody touched it.
Nobody. In fact, it was almost really well played to where if that was designed for Sky Moore to run that way and for Justin Watson to come up and then jump as if he's going to go catch it so it draws the defender to Justin Watson, but he jumps short so it goes over the head so that I think it was C.J. Gardner-Johnson goes to to Justin Watson, then it was brilliant. It was an absolutely brilliant play on 4th and 25. But they're not on the same page. And yeah, could there have been some things that he did better? Certainly. But other guys have to step up and help him out along the way. And we aren't even talking about the 4th down decisions to where Andy Reid could have helped out Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So we can talk about the wide receivers letting Patrick Mahomes down. Those are plays going 100 miles an hour in the middle of it where everything is flying around. It's 3rd and 6. Kadarius Toney, no doubt, felt Brian Branch coming up. So I think he was turning to look and see what he was going to do on 3rd and 6. I don't think it's a first down anyway. Certainly not 7 the other way. You're still up 14-7 and punting. You live to fight another day, right? And I think he was getting ready to catch the ball, and then what move am I going to make on this defender? That's the only guy that's stopping me from picking up maybe 30 yards. If he gets around Brian Branch, he's running to daylight. But Branch was there, and then he makes the play. Those things are happening fast, real time, speed. Andy Reid's got time to sit and think and discuss and analyze decisions in 4th and short and in plus yardage at plus 21 and plus 17. And it's a tie game. And you kick a field goal. And then you're up by 3. And you kick a field goal to extend that 1-score game to a 1-score game. And then you lost. And the irony is that not going for either of those 4th downs meant he had to go for the 4th and 25.
That's exactly right.
That's Alanis Morissette. Would be more ironic than some of the things in her song. You've got a guy on the other side that's going for it on 4th down at midfield and went for a fake punt. And Andy Reid, knowing that the offense is struggling, and I guess I can understand to a degree his view of we're off tonight. I got to get points. We're going to put points, and the defense is playing well, so I'm going to have to change my view of tonight's game, and I'm going to have to go and kick field goals. That's how we win because we're in this position, the second field goal because of a 41-yard pass interference play. It wasn't that we drove down the field and looked pretty good.
That's true.
We're in this position to kick a field goal because we got 40 yards on a penalty. Defense is playing well. I'm going to kick the field goal and make them have to go and score a touchdown against the defense that has allowed one all game, and that was on a possession that they had a fake punt to extend that drive. I understand to a degree that. But you know that the guy on the other side, when he knows he has to go and get a touchdown, he's going to keep going for it. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be aggressive. And the Chiefs made some really good stops on 3rd and short. And then the Lions punted. Well, then what happens on 4th and short then? They are now going to have 4 downs to go and try to do that. I would have liked to see more aggressiveness. I would have liked to see going for at least one of those.
Yep.
If you go for both of them and you get 7 points out of one of those games or one of those drives, you have more points than what you got by kicking 2 field goals.
You sure do.
Yeah, that's
You sure do. Now you're punting at the end of the game. Say, play defense. We'll see you in overtime.
That's how it typically works.
The first, I don't even really believe this. The first field goal, though, fine. I don't want to waste my breath on it now. It's the field goal that gives you the lead, and so there's a little. You are taking it from a tie to a slight but 1 possession lead.
Putting some game pressure on the Lions.
Second one's inexcusable. 4th and 2 from the 21, and the exact thing that you talk about happening is what happened to the Chiefs. You say, okay, well, you're kicking this field goal to make it a 3 to a 6 point game, so a field goal no longer ties it for the Lions. Well, when you go up 6, they're gonna be playing for the touchdown regardless. Now they're not gonna try to kick 2 field goals, not with the Chiefs' offense and limited time in the 4th quarter. At that point, that second field goal, all it did was take Patrick Mahomes off the field when 2 yards gets you a fresh set of downs in the red zone. And if you end up kicking a field goal later on because you can't get any closer, whatever, you have at least 4 more chances, because I don't think you get the field goal there regardless. You have at least 4 more chances with 1 conversion. With 2 yards, you get 4 more chances Patrick Mahomes score a touchdown and to more or less put the football game away. Instead, you kick a field goal that makes it a 6-point lead that the Lions have to score the touchdown to tie or surpass regardless. They score that touchdown. You never score again. The game essentially ends on 4th and 25 because Sky Moore mistimes a jump and doesn't bring down a pass that Mahomes actually put in a catchable spot for him. It's so deeply frustrating, and that's beyond the short yardage stuff. That's beyond the Blake Bell belldozer. That's beyond the motion, and they also, we talked about this, it's the quick snap Blake Bell thing that's driving us crazy. So hesitate, get the defense to jump, and then snap it. They got them to jump. They did. The nose actually jumped.
We can get in and discuss that too. That's that ad nauseam.
What's the call there when that happens?
You reach out and touch the man.
Does Creed have a green light? Does Bell have the green light?
Tooney, just reach out and touch him. Creed, snap the ball. It doesn't matter if it's a fumble.
Creed, fall over on your butt.
Somebody move.
Make him touch you. Follow. I don't care. But there are execution issues all over the place, and those are frustrating. But the schematic philosophical stuff from Andy Reid, again, who is one of the greatest coaches to ever set foot on a football field, makes these same really silly mistakes, and it costs lots of people cost the Chiefs the game. There are lots of people who can own little slices of that pie.
Yeah.
Mahomes was the only one who went out there to win it. And the defense deserves some, the offense deserves some. But a lot of people can take some of the blame. Andy Reid gets a large slice of it too, unfortunately.
Yeah, it felt like the Kadarius Toney, Andy Reid.
Yep.
were a big part of last night's frustration. I believe Kadarius Toney will make plays for this team.
I agree.
Last time we saw Kadarius Toney on the field before last night, he was catching a touchdown and had the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. He made plays for this team. He had a terrible night. Terrible night. One of the worst wide receiver nights I think I've ever seen. And I don't want to be hyperbolic. I just haven't gone back to do research and rack my brain to say, no. I remember this game back in 1997 where this wide receiver was just awful. It was one of the worst, if not the worst, wide receiver games to where Curtis Seabold tweeted it last night. It's absolutely brilliant. If Kadarius Toney would have just taken every pass thrown to him and batted it down like he was a defensive back, the Chiefs win the game.
Yep.
He had minus 2.9 expected points added per target, meaning every 3 times you threw him the ball, it was more than a touchdown, which is exactly what happened.
It's literally what happened.
It's literally what happened. You threw the ball, and they got a touchdown out of it. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels. We will talk with Matt Derrick at 11 o'clock, Kendall Gammon at noon, Mick Schaefer around 12:30 or so. The Chiefs have a Super Bowl championship this last year while having the struggles and inability for short yardage situation. We talked about that. We went through the numbers and how crazy they were, and we did that after the preseason bulldozer in which they did not pick up the first down. And we thought, hey, maybe they're setting something up. Maybe they're showing this because they're going to set something up. And we discussed it and was like, man, if you just simply do a hard count, you can draw them off sides. Execution was lacking a lot last night in a number of different places, especially offensively. And there were some guys who were rusty. I think Pacheco was rusty. I certainly think Kadarius Toney was rusty. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is just simply who Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, and he'll never see a cutback lane in his life. I do not want to ride with Clyde Edwards-Helaire if we need to get somewhere fast on the highway because he won't be able to see the lanes opening up because maybe the first run of the game was another mother bleeping cutback that was just so brilliantly blocked that he just ran. Look, if you need 3 yards, Edwards-Helaire is going to get you 3 yards. And if you need 5 yards, Edwards-Helaire is going to get you 3 yards. It's what he is. That's fine.
Who went right after him in that draft?
Oh, man. Somebody that's not done anything and wouldn't have made a difference last night at all. That much I know.
I'm over it.
Someone who might be available after Joe Burrow's contract.
Yeah, good point.
I did love the Bengals releasing that at kickoff.
That was hilarious.
That hometown discount.
Yeah.
Yes, good for. By the way, good for them doing that. That's brilliant. So last night's short yardage situation struggles, that is not something that's like, oh my God, what's the deal with this season and this team? It's been an Andy Reid thing. Last night, they just ended up losing, where other games they've found ways to win. I went back and looked. There were 9 plays last night. 9 plays the Chiefs had that were second or third and 2 yards or less. 2 or fewer yards. Second and 1 or 2, third and 1 or 2. 9 plays.
Do we need to guess?
Oh, if you want to, yeah.
I know it's going to be bad.
You can guess if you want to. I'll just tell you.
I know they scored a touchdown on one of them, so it's not 0
it was
for
third,
9.
Third and goal at the 1.
Yeah.
Their first one was 3rd and 2 when Mahomes had that beautiful loft to McKinnon.
Yeah, that was sick.
For 10 yards.
Yeah.
And then they had a 2nd and 1. Pacheco picked up 3 yards. Those are the only first downs that they gained on 9 plays. The other 6 plays, they picked up a total of -3 yards. Here's how they went. 3rd and 2, Mahomes to McKinnon, 10 yards. 2nd and goal at the 2, fun trick play, McKinnon to Mahomes to Toney, picked up a yard. 3rd and goal, very next play, touchdown to Rashee Rice. Later, 2nd and 1, Pacheco 3 yards. They were 3 of 4 to start the game. 2nd and 2, incomplete, Sky Moore the RPO. That was at his feet. 3rd and 2, incomplete, hits Toney in the leg. 2nd and 1, Kadarius Toney, -1 yards on the end around after Mahomes scrambled for 9 yards. Very next play, 3rd and 2, incomplete. Mahomes had 3 people draped on his legs, and he threw it, and McKinnon dropped it. 3rd and 1, Blake Bell to Rashee Rice, -3 yards. 5 straight, they could not convert 2nd or 3rd and 1 or 2 yards and picked up a total of -3 yards. Only one time did they simply hand it off and go forward. And they picked up 3 yards on that. RPO, straight drop back, Toney end around, straight drop back, Blake Bell down the line. Now, I'm fine with the drop backs and the RPOs. Wholly fine with that.
Sure.
I don't need the Blake Bell handoff to Rashee Rice to be cute to pick up, 5 inches. 6 inches. I need them to be coached that when you do the hard snap, why are you doing the hard snap? What's the reason you're doing the hard snap?
Get them to jump. 5 free yards.
So when they do, move.
Move.
Do something.
Snap it. Goose them.
Fall. Juwan Taylor, move out of your stance early. Something. And then once that guy jumped back, I thought, okay, now they're going to. And then I saw Rashee Rice in motion, and I thought, okay, maybe they're going to do the tush push with Rashee
Yeah,
Rice.
that would have been fun.
No, they're going to hand off to Rashee Rice. And again, execution. What I talked about in preseason was Creed Humphrey got his ass whipped.
Yep.
On that. This one, Trey Smith just whiffed. The man who made the tackle, Trey Smith didn't touch him. Trey Smith fired out, and that guy went right by him. And Trey Smith immediately turned around and tried to help out, and it was toast. And if Rashee Rice gets by that guy, there are 3 on the edge to block 2. I believe he gets to the edge, turns the corner, at least picks up a first down, maybe gets a decent chunk. And we go, see, finally they did something off the Blake Bell, and they didn't see it coming. But execution, it just didn't work. Trey Smith was fine for a good portion of the game. He had a couple plays that he'd probably like back. Yep. That one and the hold against Aiden Hutchinson. He'd probably like that back. But again, it's Aiden Hutchinson. I think that one more than anything, because it blew up, and that's the last time the Chiefs had the ball, was that play in which he just simply whiffed. It happens. It's execution. It makes it easier to execute when you just fire off the ball and go forward.
The other thing that is absolutely infuriating is after the game, Andy Reid asked about all these fourth down decisions, the third and short, the short yard difficulties. Hey, did you think about going for it on fourth down here? Sam McDowell had to ask him twice because Andy Reid never wants to talk about it. Well, no, we were moving backwards, so we thought we were probably good.
Yeah, we went
if you're only going to go for it, if you got positive yards or no yardage at all, let Patrick Mahomes drop back and throw an incompletion and then try something weird on fourth down if you feel like 4th and 1. You have 2 chances to get 1 yard, or 1 chance to get 1 yard and then 1 chance to get 4 if that play. You have Blake Bell taking the snap and Rashee Rice in motion, a rookie trying to make this play happen. You've got some disaster potential there. Mm-hmm. Run a play that moves forward so you at least have 2 cracks at it. So frustrating.
Yeah. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Matt Derrick will join us coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. We will hear from Lee Sterling on the other side of the break. I haven't even gotten into the point that they went out of the way to get the ball to Kadarius Toney 6 times and Jerick McKinnon 0. On a day they couldn't get offense going, they had 0 plays to where they said, let's just give it to McKinnon. Either hand it off or a screen pass or something. The only 2 times McKinnon touched the ball were Mahomes trying to create after the designed play fell apart. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
sports handicapping champion Lee Sterling on The Zone. Log on to ParamountSports.com or call toll-free 800-400-9741 to get started.
Well, we're all catching our breaths from Arrowhead Stadium last night. Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports joins us now. We didn't get to pick the Chiefs game this week, Lee, but we've got college football like crazy and a whole slate of the rest of the National Football League coming up. It's football season. It's here. We're past week 0 and week 1 of college football. Week 1 of the NFL is here. Week 3 of college football is here. Man, this is a fun time of year.
It is. I'm going to have to pace myself. Last week it's perfect, I think, how they do it. You get indoctrinated. You got week 0, like 7 games, and then week 1 in college football. And Sunday, they have 3 games spaced out throughout the day. But now it is full speed ahead, and it's time to break out. I don't know if I've ever done it this early. I've got a 45 to 50 unit release in the NFL. First time we've ever released one so early, and we're 61-20 on these documented plays. So you want to get involved, go right now, ParamountSports.com. Get the monthly September to Remember special or the season special. Love to have you aboard. You want to get on it early.
That's going to be fun. And the phone number is 800-400-9741. Keep that handy for the end of the segment because you'll have a free play as well. We got football tonight right here on Sports Radio 810. Kansas and Illinois, a little Friday night affair. Two weeks in a row for Kansas on Friday night. These coaches know each other. Lance Leipold and Brett Bielema, they were both up in the Wisconsin area for a while. Kansas is a slight favorite in this game. Illinois struggled last week to win their game. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, and the only reason they won was they kept the Rockets out of the end zone and forced them to kick 3 field goals. Had to pull it out on the last play of the game on that field goal. Now, it looks like Jayhawks quarterback Jalen Daniels will start. That is important. I think he's the guy that turns their offense from good into great. And returned 10 starters on offense. They won the last 3 times versus Big Ten opponents. Illinois has not won a game 2, since 2018 when they played UConn. In fact, they've only won once in non-conference action in 16 years. The right team is favored. Kansas 31-24 over the Illini.
Much bigger line in Columbia for Missouri against Middle Tennessee State. It's a 20-point line. Now Eli Drinkwitz said this week Brady Cook is the first quarterback, and there won't be much action maybe for Sam Horn unless they get up big. Missouri's defense is probably the story, though. They're really, really good this year. Can they get enough offense to cover 20 points?
I think that they can. I think they're going to be one of those teams that they beat the teams that they should beat by over the point spread and then have trouble against most of these top teams. I mean, their talent level is right there. They're in a certain median right here. Middle Tennessee used 3 quarterbacks last week, only total 133 passing yards. Mizzou can run versus average or weak teams, 5.1 yards per carry last year. Last week, what would Middle Tennessee State do when they had to play Alabama? They sold out. Their front 7, they were blitzing early and often, and just didn't work. And I don't think it's going to work against Missouri here. Finally starting to get the ball early and often to Luther Burden. He is downright explosive here. Mizzou's the right side, 37-14.
All right, K-State had a really nice home opener last week. Step up in competition this week. They've got Troy coming in. But I think sometimes name like Troy, because they've pulled some upsets in the past, kind of scares some folks. How good is this Troy team? We know K-State is solid all around, and they're like a 16-point favorite.
So Troy had to replace most of their defense. And what did they do? They went to the transfer portal. They think that they've got some guys that are going to be able to plug them in, and they're going to do a decent enough job. Now, it might take a couple weeks, but it's like Kansas State. They have a really good coaching staff. They coach these kids up. They're going to make teams beat them. They're not going to beat themselves. They have, believe it or not, the second longest winning streak at 12. In fact, their loss last year to App State was the only time they gave up more than 30 points in a game, and that happened on the last play of the game, Hail Mary, or else they would have given up 26 in that game. So they are a lot like Kansas State. They're under the radar. Most people don't talk about them. Kansas State might be taking a little bit of a peek ahead to their road game next week versus SEC regional rival Mizzou. And until last year, Kansas State didn't have a winning spread record at home in a season since 2014. So they're actually better against the spread as a road underdog. They actually lost at home 2020 to Arkansas State and lost last year to Tulane. Now, they're not going to lose this game, but 16.5 points is too much here. Kansas State wins 27-20, but the Troy Trojans cover.
We're talking college football and now pro football with Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports here on The Zone. Let's talk about the AFC West. Got a couple here to talk about. Number one, Denver against the Vegas Raiders. Denver's a favorite here. Will this be a better Denver Broncos team with a new head coach?
Well, they can't be much worse. I mean, they were almost unwatchable last year. So here's the problem, though. They have been owned by the Raiders. And, I mean, different personnel except for Carr. I understand that. But the Raiders own this division rivalry series. 8-2 straight up, 9-1 against the spread the last 10 meetings here, including winning the last 6 times they played. And the Raiders have won the 3 previous games in Denver. The last time the Broncos beat the Raiders by more than a point, all the way back at home in 2017. So I know the Denver defense is salty, the secondary good, they're allowing just 5.9 yards per play. I still don't think Russell Wilson has turned it around. Do not think so. And this Denver defense, I think, is going to give up a bunch of rushing yards, and I think the Raiders can run the football. I think the wrong team's favorite here. I like the Las Vegas Raiders here, 24-20.
That would be a tough start for Sean Payton and his Broncos. All right, so the Dolphins are flying all the way across the country, right? That's week 1 of the season, so it's maybe you're not in the grind of all this. But these cross-country things can be something. They're going to face the Chargers. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite.
Yeah, and Miami got just shellacked. Both times they played on the West Coast last year, the Chargers and the 49ers. So what I'm hearing is they started looking at this game earlier, a week earlier than they normally do, put in some new stuff here. But what do you do against the Chargers? You got to take their heart away. This is the team. You look at the talent; it's right there with Miami, right there with some of the best here. So run the football, take their heart away, and that's what you start with, and then you put them in long down and distance situations, and they're going to have trouble when they're moving. Like early in the game last year in the playoffs against Jacksonville, everything's going great, but you get it where they fall behind, they're in trouble here. I think this Dolphins team is special here. I think that them bringing over maybe one of the best defensive coordinators is going to be a big upgrade in this team here. So I like the Dolphins here. Another wrong team favorite, Dolphins, 30-26.
That'd be a good start for them. All right, you got a free play for us in the game that everyone's going to be looking at on Saturday in college football. Texas goes to Alabama.
Should be fun here. I mean, everyone's been waiting for this game since last year's great game. It's in Tuscaloosa this year. You want to get it for free? Call 800-400-9741. We'll give you the game for free. 800-400-9741. And don't forget, our first 40 to 50 unit selection. We're 61-20 on these games. You want to hop on board? Just one place, ParamountSports.com, or call us here at the office. We can take your order over the phone, 800-400-9741.
All right, Lee, that's Lee Sterling. We got games tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday on that, and we're going to talk to you Sunday morning on Chiefs Tailgate. More Zone coming up next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Trying to unwind for the summer? Look no further than From the Earth Dispensaries, with 5 locations in Kansas City, Independence.
official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Friday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We are hanging out with Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest, joining us here in The Zone on a Friday. Matt, what's up? How are you, sir?
I'm doing just dandy.
Good.
And it sounds like you guys are having a very lighthearted, lively conversation amongst friends.
Did you say dandy to just make a little Dan Campbell dig? I mean,
It wasn't, but I appreciate
are my kneecaps
that.
safe around you?
I might have to chew some kneecaps today.
I'm turning my back to Matt for multiple reasons.
Well, I mean, the Chiefs might have been better off if Kadarius Toney's kneecap would have been just another week longer in his rehab. Probably would have been better
If
off.
Sky Moore's kneecap was like a inch longer.
Yep. He did have the biggest hands in the draft. He just needed fingers to be just a little bit bigger. Or just simply make a catch. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to make a difficult catch from time to time.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Almond Joys have nuts.
There you go.
Mounds don't.
Oh, that's getting marked.
Yeah, it sure did.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Sometimes I had to be sneaky, but that one I wasn't. That one I wasn't going to be able to hide.
Let's just start off with a general takeaway for you, Matt. You're there, and what do you take away from last night's game and an 0-1 start for the Chiefs?
Very surprising. Did not think that they were going to lose this one. I think the Chiefs are the better team, but they were missing two pieces. Was that critical? I think certainly on the offensive side it was. But this was also a subpar performance from this offense, and I think we've seen that when they come out with what is a subpar performance for them, anybody can beat them on any given day. And so, I don't think you have to overreact to this. I don't think it's sky is falling.
He was on some of the throws.
I left that pause there just for one of you. I figured it'd be this guy.
We have better chemistry than Patrick Mahomes and his wide receivers.
But I just knew one of you was going to be there for the putback.
Thank you.
I don't think there's any reason to overreact because I think you said exactly what Andy Reid would say, just off by a tick.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of game last night that you could easily see 6 plays that went against them go the other way, and they put 48 up on the Jaguars. So let's see what happens. But I think the most important takeaway that I think that the Chiefs should take away from this is what life without Travis Kelce might look like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
you
I
better
think,
prepare for it because you're not ready.
Well, they aren't ready for life without Travis Kelce currently. I think a plan would be in place for life without Travis Kelce when you know it's going to happen. I don't think the Chiefs will go into a season with this wide receiver group if Travis Kelce retired. You know, if
the man's going to be 34 years old.
No, but he's still going to be there. He's still on the team. So when we talk about the wide receiver
room,
room,
he's 34 years old.
He is, and Gonzalez was 39 when he had 800 yards receiving and 80 receptions.
You never know when Kelce's going to decide to retire for the first time.
I understand that. I just don't think it's happening right now. And he's already said he's going to play out the 3 years of his deal. But my point being,
but it's football. You got to be prepared.
No, my point is preparing for life after Kelce is not 2023. This is life with Kelce. Preparing for life after Kelce is, Kelce has a year left or so. I don't think this is what a wide receiver group would look like without Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce is counted in the wide receiver group. When you say Mahomes has no number one receiver, well, he does. It's Kelce. So he does have a number one guy to go to. It's Kelce. Life after Kelce, I don't think there's a chance in hell Kadarius Toney and MVS would be the number one receivers for the Chiefs. I think Brett Veach will make sure that there is somebody or two guys that are studs or viewed as that for Mahomes to throw the football to.
And see, I kind of hear when you say that. I'm kind of hearing, you know what? My car's brand new. I don't need car insurance.
No, not at all.
Because nothing's going to happen to it.
Not at all.
My house isn't going to burn down.
No.
I don't need to get homeowners insurance until next year.
The insurance was Toney and Moore and MVS.
But they don't play tight end.
No, So do you want to? Did you want them to draft Sam Laporta? Would you have liked them to go get Dalton Kincaid?
I would draft a tight end every year until I find my tight end. That's going to be the next Travis Kelce.
I mean,
I mean, it doesn't have to be a second-round pick.
Are you trying to find the next Travis Kelce? Because everybody's been trying to find that since Travis Kelce, and there's one Travis Kelce.
There is one Travis
It's like
Kelce.
trying to find the next Patrick Mahomes and ending up with the Mormon Mahomes and playing back up to 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
I will grant you that I would rephrase that to say my next true backup behind Travis Kelce. Have the Chiefs found that yet? I'm not sold.
No, I mean
Have they tried? No.
No, they
They've
haven't.
drafted one tight end in the last 8 years.
Yeah, and it's game one for Noah Gray without Travis Kelce. And again,
no knock against Noah Gray. I mean, it's just.
I mean, he had a big play.
He is what he is. He had a big play. Sure,
he had a big play. Broke a tackle. Yes, Travis Kelce does a lot for, and that goes without saying, that he does a lot for the other guys, and other guys probably more open on some plays if Travis Kelce's out there. Maybe we are talking about a big Sky Moore game if Travis Kelce's out there and there's less attention to him. But it is a glimpse. You are right. It's a glimpse of what it looks like without Travis Kelce, meaning you have to have playmakers that are going to be there to separate, to make plays, to do things on their own, because Kelce won't help you manipulate being open because there's so much attention on him.
And to continue my terrible, terrible car metaphor, to me, not drafting a tight end, and remember, like I said, the Chiefs drafted one tight end last 8-9 years. They only drafted one since Kelce, right?
I think that's right.
I mean, otherwise we've tried undrafted guys and former basketball players and things like that.
Well, you could say that really at every position, though.
But
I mean, it's like, well, you got to
drafted like 8 defensive ends and some defensive tackles and
right. But if you're saying like, I mean, you got to keep drafting guys to try to find
and there probably some
Kelce.
people. There probably be some people out there who says, "Why haven't they drafted a quarterback since Mahomes that they can develop?" And I mean, people would say that, but to me,
it doesn't matter if Mahomes
this
goes down.
offense runs on Travis Kelce.
James O'Shaughnessy in 2015.
I'm sorry. When I said 8 years, there you go. I was right with the 8 years.
Yeah,
I was right with the 8 years.
Nice job.
But I mean, Travis Kelce is oil. He's oil in the car. The Andy Reid offense runs through the tight end position. That is the single most important position outside of the quarterback on an Andy Reid offense. And not drafting a tight end regularly to see if you can find the next Travis Kelce or some facsimile thereof, to me, is akin to, I don't need to change my oil. I'll wait 3 more months, and then eventually you haven't changed your oil in a year, and don't call me when you're stuck on the side of the road because I kept telling you to buy some more oil, get an oil change.
The check engine light is definitely on for the Chiefs offense right now.
Well, I mean, if in continuing this metaphor,
but you can call me because I'm not a jerk. Yeah. I'll still come on the side of the road and help you out.
But if I would call you, I know you would help me out faster than AAA did last week.
Oh.
The oil, though, if you keep buying the wrong oil, it's not going to really help you all that much. So the point being, like, who are the tight ends to draft without spending first rounders on them? Who are the tight ends that would be there in the draft that you say they missed on this guy? They could have drafted this guy. They took L'Jarius Sneed here. They could have drafted a tight end there. Well, they did get Creed Humphrey there. You could have drafted a tight end, or they got Nick Bolton, because you are exchanging one of those draft picks. It's easy to say, well, yeah, take Darian Kennard out and draft somebody else. Well, take Clyde Edwards-Helaire and draft a tight end. We can look back and do those things. I just wonder what tight ends along the way that it's like, these are the guys they should have signed or drafted because this would be a difference maker right now, or if it's just simply a general philosophy of throwing numbers at that spot until you can find somebody that can help you along the way. And life without Travis Kelce, I really hope does not result in 10 drop passes by receivers.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
That was.
Are you now there are probably an element of selfishness here in guys that I've really liked and championed. But are you surprised that in the game, I need to go and look at the numbers real quick, but in the game that the Chiefs had 6 times that they made sure to try to get Kadarius Toney the ball.
Yes.
On a shockingly low number of snaps, by the way. I didn't realize that until today.
Even on the field, the ball was coming his way.
Yeah.
There was no
16 snaps for
16
Kadarius
snaps
Toney.
and 6 times the ball went his way versus 1 time that they had a play set up for either Richie James or Jerick McKinnon.
McKinnon had 20 offensive snaps and 18 special team snaps.
And he had 2 balls thrown his way, and both of those were off of broken plays, scrambles. Not once did they say, let's put the ball in McKinnon's hand. Let's run a screen play. Let's run a swing pass. Let's hand it off to him in the backfield instead of Edwards-Helaire or even Pacheco from time to time. Like, McKinnon offers you the ability to change some pace and to make some plays. Richie James, them too. Like Kadarius Toney dropping the ball. Rashee Rice dropping the ball.
I mean, to me, it's probably a case of, and with McKinnon in particular, it was probably more situation. I mean, when are you going to throw the ball to McKinnon? I mean, when you have a play designed for Jerick McKinnon, majority of the time it's going to be like 3rd and 8, and you're just, or 3rd and 16, and you're just trying to get some yards and everything on a screen of some sort. I mean, a lot of even his touchdowns last year were busted plays.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's some of it was just not finding him on the busted plays. I mean,
and some of them
we
are
were bringing up earlier.
Yeah,
they could have found him, but they just didn't.
Yeah, and some of them are just simply handoffs to him too. I mean, they didn't hand the ball off to him one time last night.
And let's be real. I mean, the Lions did what teams typically have tried to do against the Chiefs, which is, just rushing 4. I mean, they did not blitz him at all. I think the blitz rate was like, maybe 15%. It's incredibly low. They dropped guys back. That was why Mahomes had all day to throw. I mean, but nobody was open a lot of the game. I mean, and they just – but that comes back to, gosh, how much different does that change it with Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
As far as him being able to take up some space and draw some attention, and now – And guys were getting open. I mean, you look at the separation numbers. Separation numbers were good, but that's also after having 3.3 seconds to throw. I mean, eventually you're going to get there. And I think you mentioned in the first hour, there were probably some times that Mahomes, had he stayed in the pocket a little longer, maybe he does find some of these guys eventually. But he had happy feet a few times and fled some good pockets. And
that's the good with the bad with Mahomes. I mean,
exactly. I mean, you're going to take it. You're going to live with it.
I'll let Mahomes continue to be Mahomes, even though there might be some clean pockets he runs from. But
were there some things designed for Richie James or Justin Ross or Jerick McKinnon that just did not develop? Could be.
Was the takeaway last night for you that, boy, they'd better increase the offer to Chris Jones? Because, man, Chris Jones made a lot of money last night, which seemed to be a common theme of national analysts.
People are really saying that?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people saying that.
Because, I mean, I'll be honest.
Shannon Sharp, Dominique Foxworth, just the two that popped in my head right now about Chris Jones.
That makes a whole lot of sense. You're probably going to throw Solomon Wilcots in here pretty soon.
I didn't see Dominique say that. That makes me sad. Yeah. I expect better review.
I totally agree with that. I'm like, damn it, Dominique, what are you talking about?
Honestly,
here?
The way that defense played last night, I'm calling I'm calling with Katz Brothers and telling you take $1 million off what we were offering you.
Yeah, I like that.
Not total, per year. Yeah. This defense gave up 14 points to this team.
Matt Dickerson played the most snaps of any interior defensive lineman. He played 41 snaps last night.
That should be enough to win. Yes. With his offense, that should be enough. They did enough to win.
14 points, 7 of which came after the special teams let a drive stay alive. Yeah. That was one that was totally on the defense. Oh.
And you know what? If Chris Jones played last night, maybe he gets a sack. You know what? That probably was probably Mike Dana's sack because Dana still got him to sack.
Dana walked him back, and then
that was a beautiful rep.
Absolutely. And one of the things that Shannon Sharp said is that they got to pay more money to Chris Jones because they couldn't generate pressure last night without blitzing. Well, they did because Mike Dana did get some pressure. FAU was in Jared Goff's face in the end zone, so he got some pressure there. And Steve Spagnuolo blitzes.
That's the thing.
It's what he does.
I mean, they had 55 sacks last year because Steve Spagnuolo likes to blitz.
So you could say the same thing when Chris Jones is on the field. Well, I mean, look at all those blitzes they had to do with Chris Jones on the field. Yeah, because that's what he does. And he brings it from different angles. And then he like even a blitz might be only bringing 4 guys because Karlaftis dropped twice. At least that I'd have to go back and watch every single Karlaftis. But there were 2 plays where Karlaftis dropped into coverage. There was another one to where Derek Nottie dropped into coverage on a blitz, and they brought 4. But they blitzed, but they brought 4. So it's like rushing 4 and a blitz. Well, technically it's both, but they only brought 4, and they got pressure there. So it's just a matter of how you sort of frame it. And I don't know. I was really surprised at how many people last night, and I think it was solely based on the set of downs at the end to ice the game when the Lions picked up 11 yards on 3 rushing plays. And therefore, they ran right at Chris Jones where he would have been. And yes, Dickerson is not Chris Jones. And yes, on the 3rd down play, Dickerson got moved 4 yards back. He's not Chris Jones. Jones would make a difference, certainly. But watching that game, I didn't come away with, Man, I came away with, man, what would they really miss? They should pay Travis Kelce whatever he wants. Travis Kelce sitting out last night wanting more money was a big factor in that game. That would be my takeaway if somebody was holding out last night.
And you won't find many bigger Chris Jones admirers than myself. I mean, I respect the heck of the game and everything.
All three
like
of
that.
us.
But if you're going to come to me and tell me that Chris Jones is going to blow up the run game, well, I would just look at a lot of times in the past when the Chiefs' run defense has been porous and Chris Jones was on the field. I mean, that is not his strength. That's not what he does.
That was another takeaway is Chris Jones, longtime known run stopper.
He's a decent run stopper, but he's not.
He makes a difference in the game. The Chiefs win by double digits with Kelce and Chris Jones out there. I mean, can't be proven.
They might win by double digits with some stickum.
Yeah, that's right. Can't be proven, but that's why I don't come away like it's a loss and it sucks, and the AFC is a gauntlet, and that loss can come back to bite them. Or you can say, well, they find a way to win a game here or there that that maybe they shouldn't have won. They didn't play great, and they won that game, and it evens out. We'll find out along the way. But that's why last night I come away from that game, and I'm not like this. The sky is falling, and woke up this morning and I said, I opened up the show with maybe I'm a little more surprised myself in the reaction that I woke up this morning and thought, well, it's Friday, the Chiefs are 0-1, and the reason they're 0-1 on a Friday is because they were playing on a Thursday at home because the most recent game they won the Super Bowl. And they found ways to win against the Bengals, found ways to win against the Eagles. It's really hard for me to get all frustrated and mad and screaming and firing people when they hung a banner last night. And maybe that's just Pollyanna and well, that's living in the past. Yeah, man, but I'm not ready to turn the page on this 4-year run where they've got a couple of Super Bowls and just say they lost to the Lions, so it's all over.
Well, and really breaking it down, I mean, I can say from watching that game, I can't point to any player on the defense and say that guy cost them the game. I mean, the defense played well. They did what they needed to do. Did everybody have perfect snaps? No. I mean, there were some lapses here and there, but I can't point to any one player and say, you know what, that guy played badly enough to cost them the game. I can say that about almost everybody on the offensive side of the football, including Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was not sharp. I mean, some of those drops, a lot of them were on the receivers because they hit him in the hands. Were they perfect passes? Not all of them. Did he miss a few others that just didn't even give the receivers a chance? Sure. I mean, he I think will tell you he was off a tick. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't like he was just launching the ball, in this outer space or anything. It was just we expect machine-like precision out of Patrick Mahomes in this offense and didn't get it last night.
Right.
That's probably not going to happen. And if that is the lesson and the reality check that we heard from Justin Reed and a few of the other players, that they needed to just give them the wake-up call, this loss won't happen again because even though every single week they're going to be the other team's Super Bowl. And that was definitely the case for the Lions last night. I mean, you could tell. I mean, the Lions, they circled this game from day one. I mean, this was their opportunity. And there were more Lions fans in that crowd last night than I have seen from a lot of opposing fan bases. I certainly didn't expect for opening night. I mean, they had to pay a premium for those tickets, so that's some dedicated Lions fans right there.
Yeah, the secondary market, the Lions were paying a lot of money for those particular tickets, and good on Lions fans for being there and representing. And you're right about sort of that view of playing the Super Bowl champs. Jason Kander tweeted out last night. I thought it was funny, and it's a really good point. It's pretentious for Chiefs fans, but it's a good point. And it said that the one negative for Chiefs fans right now is that the joy we find is like winning playoff games and Super Bowls. We'll never know the joy of what it's like to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that was the Lions last night. We'll never know the joy of what it's like to be a fan that does not root for either team that has a great night when the Chiefs lose.
Yeah.
We'll never know that joy because it's the Chiefs that are losing and the other team saying, what an amazing night. What can this mean for this team? Like, the Lions are a good team. They are a good team. But I'll say this. If the Lions are in the Super Bowl in Vegas and the Chiefs are facing off against them, I will take that matchup.
Oh, yeah.
I will gladly take that matchup.
Take that matchup
if that's
too.
the NFC winners, which is a sexy pick of maybe the Lions are going to win the NFC this year. If that's the team that wins the NFC, I'll take my chances. Then I would say the Lombardi Trophy is going to stay in the AFC if that team is there. But they're certainly better than what they have been. And they've got a I almost said they've got a bite to them, but I stopped. They've got an edge to them. we're not just the same old Lions. We're not going to get kicked around,
Just
all of that stuff.
Think about how much they would have beaten the Lions if they were allowed to get a real lion in there to inspire them.
That's exactly right. But even with all of that, the Chiefs were up 14-7. And if they, put some points on the board, I mean, the game pressure just starts to snowball a little bit. The touchdown drives for the Lions was a punt that was a fake punt, then a touchdown drive that they gave up, just one of them. The other one was a pick six. They gave up 14 points. One of them where they did not force a punt the entire time. And there was a huge third down conversion. It was, 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 16 for the Lions. And give them credit because Snead was right there, about to hit Goff on the blitz, and Goff stood in there, waited, found his receiver, picks up 16-something yards, first down. A half tick later, I think that was when Willie Gay was running straight back, and he didn't look back at the ball. It went right over his head when he was. But
Yep.
That's sort of what you're taught. Linebacker, you come up for the play action, and then you turn around and find the nearest receiver and run to him. They had opportunities. They had plenty of opportunities. I don't know if it feels better for the Chiefs that they lost the game and say that they're the reason why they lost the game, as opposed to you lose a game and you go, well, that team's just better than us. I mean, we could have done some things differently, but that team is just on a different – like if the Arizona Cardinals played the Chiefs and lost, the Cardinals aren't going, man, we cost ourselves the game. They're going, we got our ass whipped. So how do we get better each and every day? Chiefs are looking at it and going, we're better than that team. We cost ourselves the game. Let's fix it.
I mean, that was at minimum A effort from the Lions. It could be their A-plus effort. I mean, they played just about as well as they can. They took a few chances, and almost all of them hit. And for the Chiefs, what was that? Was that a C- or a D-plus performance?
It was an F from the receivers. I thought it was a B-plus offensive line.
I might give it like a C- just because the defense graded out well. I mean, I would give them that. But
if you have to account for who didn't contribute to the group project, then I do think that raises the grade for who was there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, the offense needs a separate grade from everybody else.
The two guys with the highest GPA in the school, second and third highest GPA in the school, decided just not to help out with the project. And it's like, well, you got to see. Yeah, I know. Those guys were supposed to help. They didn't do anything.
And special teams almost stopped the fake punt, but
yeah,
it was close. But Dan Sorensen may have stopped that, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just kidding.
I think that was really well blocked.
I'd give him a roster spot for just to make Dave Toub happy.
I'm mad that my friend Marcus Maben's son was the one that picked up that first down. I'm so pissed. Like, what a jerk.
What a jerk.
Seriously.
It's not very nice.
No, it's not. All of the Mabens. Cameron Maben, Aaron Maben, Jalen Reeves Maben. They're all related, by the way. Marcus Maben. To heck with them all!
There you go.
That may have been the time the game turned. For the Lions.
Maybe.
There's
No, I got it.
There's only two teams that have lost their opening night, banner night, in the last 5 or 6 years. It's the Patriots in 2017 and then the Rams getting blown out by the Bills. I think we're a little closer to the Patriots of 2017 than the Rams, obviously, and I think that's why I think it's a little bit of overreaction on this day, and everyone's kind of liable for that. But.
And we know the feeling that night of beating the Patriots.
That was a butt whooping too.
Which
that was no 21-20.
Which at that time the Patriots would not know what the joy is of beating the Patriots because they were the Patriots at that time. And we have no idea what the joy feels like of beating the Chiefs because they can't. Well, you know what? Actually, we do. It's not fun because the Chiefs beat themselves last night for a good portion of the game.
Right now, I'm not feeling any joy at all.
Oh, was that the dismount?
What are you feeling?
Sadness.
Okay.
The hands in your pocket.
Yeah, if I put them there, Patrick Mahomes can't throw a football at them. I can't afford to let him down again.
Wouldn't hit him in the hands. That's the issue.
I could put him in my pockets and hold it in front. That's actually where one of them hit Kadarius Toney. Dylan, don't say we're overreacting. I'm not overreacting.
Just go to break. Please.
Go to break.
Please.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get.
Sports Radio 810 WHB, Jason Anderson with you. Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels. We'll talk with Kendall Gammon. Mick Schaefer will join us later on in the show as well. Matt, fourth down decisions. So the Chiefs were up. Excuse me, they were tied.
I got my eye on you, Briscoe, by the way.
I didn't even make you talk about this last night. I said we could save it till today.
The Chiefs were tied 14-14. So 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter. It was 4th and 2 at the Detroit 17. Andy Reid took the points. They go up 17-14. Very next possession, 12-16 to go in the fourth quarter. 4th and 2 at the Detroit 21. Up 17-14. Andy Reid takes the points. Score goes to 20-14. They are up 6. We know the final score now being 21-20. What did you make of the decisions by Andy Reid on 4th and 2 at the 17 and 4th and 2 at the 21?
We still have the plexi that we can move over here just because I need to make I just want to make sure that Josh doesn't start spitting on me and attacking me.
Fair. I'll figure it out.
Like he's like a camel or something?
I don't have a serious issue with the field goal. The second one?
The second one or the first one?
The second one?
I don't have a huge issue with either one.
The second one?
I'll hold this
I
one
don't
for you.
have a huge issue. Now I'm actually afraid that you're just going to knock the glass over to crush
Let me put that there again. You guys keep
Oh,
talking.
yeah, that's you sure?
This is the. Are we on the Twitch? Because the Twitch
Yeah,
users
this
will
is just
this is
video
great,
feed.
great for the
Yeah,
Twitch.
that clock
Everybody
doesn't work
else
anyway, so you
not
might as well
gonna-
use that.
Exactly.
I
That
actually
clock
fixed that
can.
one.
Eventually, you're going to get the right size to
If
fit.
you want to beat the clock with
Go ahead, man.
plexiglass.
There you
go
go.
ahead.
That's a great idea.
I'm
Great
just gonna
idea.
box myself in
Hold
like
that
Andy
right
Reid does
there.
on 4th down.
Hold that right there. Go ahead, Matt.
I will only point out one bit of irony is that you spend a considerable amount of time talking about how bad the Chiefs are in short yardage situations and then demanding that they go for it in a short yardage situation.
Correct.
Yes.
So there's a little irony there.
Or hypocrisy.
But, going from 3 to 6, I get one score game. Guess what else is going score game to one score game? 1 to 4, 2 to 5. Those are still big, different margins. I mean, that takes the. I mean, now the Lions don't need a field goal. You pointed it out. They need a touchdown. I mean, and even the win probability numbers that I generally hate were pretty much even. They were only like 1% apart on go for it versus kick. So, I mean, it's not a huge issue. I mean, what are you doing? Are you putting the game in the hands of your defense? Yes. Are you giving the risk that you're taking one of the most important plays of the game and taking it out of Patrick Mahomes' hands? Yes. I mean, to a degree, you're also putting it on the foot of what you think is one of the better kickers in the NFL. So, like I said, I don't have a huge problem with that. And the way the defense was playing, not a huge problem with that. It didn't work out, but I think Andy Reid's probably going to do the same thing 9 times out of 10.
I know. That's probably the issue.
Yeah, that's why there's plexiglass between us.
And, I mean, is it a fatal flaw of Andy Reid's? I don't know. The guy's got 2 rings.
Yeah, he's got 2 rings, yeah.
So
it's
I know
clearly not a fatal flaw.
I know his response because he's cantankerous. I was going to say he's too nice, but he is cantankerous at times. But I mean, if Andy wasn't a nice guy, he'd probably just come out and say, "Well, I'm a lot better at this than you guys," but doesn't mean he's always right. I mean, I get it. I mean, maybe this is one of his weaknesses. Maybe it is where he needs to evolve a little bit. But I didn't think it was a huge issue. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much. If anything, I had probably a bigger problem with what happened after the 4th and 25 decision and what happened after the 4th and 25, because I felt like if you were going to go for it there, then probably the best thing you could do is just, when the Lions hand off, is just take David Montgomery and drag him into the end zone. I mean, go and let them score and let them go up 7 or 8.
I mean, if you're going to do that, then the actual smart play would be on 4th and 25 for Mahomes to run backwards and run out of bounds at the 9-yard line.
I would also have taken that.
Because if he runs backwards and runs out of bounds at the 9-yard line, then you guarantee you are going to get the ball back with a chance to either win or tie the game. Because the Lions cannot get a first down to run out the clock. A first down is a touchdown. So then you're down by 8. Or maybe they go for 2 and they do the analytical thing, Dan Campbell, and you're down by 9 and you do lose the game. Who knows if that's the case. But if you stop them, you're down by 4, don't have any timeouts left, and you're getting the ball kicked off to you. But by not picking up the 4th and 25, a first down ends the game. So if we're really looking analytically from that standpoint, the best 4th and 25 play would be to run back to your 9-yard line and run out of bounds.
And I would have been okay with that too. I really would have.
Also, the odd thing is that on those 4th and shorts, that Andy Reid said, let's take the 3 points. On 4th and 25, like running back to the 9-yard line notwithstanding, like the thought process makes sense in that Andy Reid said, well, I'll take a guaranteed one more play from Patrick Mahomes than a chance that there's 0 plays from Patrick Mahomes. If I punt it and don't get a stop, Patrick Mahomes does not keep the ball. 4th and 25, I've at least given a chance for the most talented quarterback in the league to make a play. I'll take one Patrick Mahomes play over a chance of 0 Patrick Mahomes plays, which is interesting. He'd do that on 4th and 25 without the 2 different situations on 4th down that if you were to pick up just one of them and score a touchdown, you actually get more points. You end up with 7 instead of 6. To me, it's sort of a general philosophy. When we talked about it with the Chargers game, that, hey, they end up winning the game, my point was it worked out this time. I understood the decisions there, but the next time they're in that, I want Andy Reid to go for it. I don't think he will go for it. And we know that. That's just simply who Andy Reid is. Maybe the bigger issue, as you've talked about, and we talked about, and the irony there is that they can't pick up short yardage plays
and that, I mean,
to save their life.
And I think that there's a reasonable chance that the next time that happens, there's one way in which Andy Reid will go for it, and that's if he's had a bunch of 3rd and shorts earlier in the game that they were successful on. But in this case, it seemed like every time that they had a 3rd and short, they were shooting themselves in the foot. So, he's a believer in momentum, whether you believe in it or not, whether the statistics back it up, he's a believer in it. And I have no reason to, and there are legitimate reasons why this team might be bad at short yardage. I mean, running the football requires leverage, and this is an offensive line that's really good at a lot of things, but traditional low man wins football is not their strength. I mean, they're much better at other things: pass blocking, run blocking downfield, the wide zones. I mean, those are their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is not just lining up and smacking people and getting a cloud of dust. And that's a trade-off for everything else that this offensive line does really well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this has been a on and off problem for a long time. I mean, we've been talking about this since Dontari Poe, for crying out loud. So I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I don't know if I mean, it's not like they haven't tried every different thing imaginable, other than having Patrick Mahomes quarterback sneak it, which they may go back to eventually.
I don't think he's going to. It's going to have to be Patrick Mahomes calling an audible. Josh?
Yes, Jason. Just on the 4th down thing? Yeah, I mean, look, it's you've laid it out. I think for me it's relatively obvious. It's not a fatal flaw for Andy Reid. He's right. He's got 2 rings. It's the frustration of a head coach who's one of the best to ever do it, failing at a very simple test that very frequently ends with either getting, and I don't mind like the gadget stuff in the red zone. That's not where I'm at. But when it's Blake Bell on 3rd and short and he's the guy that's going to get to touch the football, or it's Harrison Butker kicking this field goal to take it from 3 points to 6 points. When the Lions, I understand your math that you're doing, Matt, but I'm going to keep holding this plexiglass here until we're done. But when you go up by 6, the Lions' only goal from this point on is to score a touchdown. A field goal does them no good. It's late in the mid-4th quarter, early 4th quarter when that second field goal was made. All the Lions need there at that point is a touchdown. Field goals are not a part of their equation, so they're playing for 7, which is to take the lead, which is if the Lions do score at all at this point. Now, the Chiefs are going to have to score again because they're going to be playing from behind. Maybe Andy Reid thought they weren't going to end at 20 points. I don't know. Maybe he really thought that the Lions weren't going to score again. But the math just doesn't make any sense there. I'm not wasting my breath on the first field goal because you take the lead as opposed to it being a tie game. I understand. I'd rather see Patrick Mahomes have more chances to do something wild, including just doing it himself, which is something he did frequently last night again. But I have no real through line of logic other than that's just what Andy Reid does. And it is, you're right. But that does not make me feel any better whatsoever.
Well, but okay, what was the math?
Because on the on like win percentages and stuff.
This is where there's some disagreement because I know one of the sources that I had last night saw was like it was 74% and go for it was 75%. I mean that's negligible.
Well, yeah, but I have to put the plexiglass down if I'm going to Google anything.
You want me to stand in between you guys?
I think we'll be okay.
I mean, if your difference in win probability is 1 percentage point, That's a coin toss. I mean, that's either way.
If it's a coin toss, give me Patrick Mahomes. And if you have to take momentum into all of this, if you are going to have this be a more vibes-based conversation than the math, which I'll find the win percentage numbers here in a second. But if that's the situation that you're going to be in, your options are either this defense that has been playing good football is either going to have the Lions backed up in their own territory with the lead still at 3 points, or Patrick Mahomes is going to get a fresh set of downs and a chance to score a touchdown with a fresh set of downs starting in the red zone right there. I do not subscribe to a mindset that says take your 3 points to make a one-possession game, still a one-possession game, and then give the ball back to the Lions. It's a similar reason as to why 4th and 25 didn't bother me. Give Patrick Mahomes a chance to make a football play.
But I quibble with the one possession game to make a one possession game because a one possession game. Because would you say the same in a 1 or a 2 point game?
In a 1 or a 2 point.
Chiefs are up by 1.
Well,
you're still not kicking the field goal there to go up 4?
Because at that point,
because it's a one possession game to a one possession game. And same thing with 2.
No, because a field goal at that point, your only danger is being tied up with the field goal, so you're not in danger of losing the game on a field goal. So I think that would be the other little mathematical nudge that I would be able to do for a 3-point game.
You would be losing the game.
He's talking about being up 17-14 if you don't pick it up.
I'm saying if you're up by 3 and you don't pick it up, then you're still up by a field goal, and a field goal, the best they can do is tie it. If you're only up by 1 or 2 points and you don't convert, then a field goal can win the game for the other team. So that is the distinction I would make in that very specific instance.
But that is still a one-score game to a one-score game. And in the same,
it's still a one-possession game, yes, because it can be
and the same
erased or taken in one possession.
And technically the same is true at 4 and 5 because it's still taking a game from a one-possession game to a one-possession game.
Right, but we have like the ways that teams score. Like it's going to we understand that this is
literally eight ways in which a one-score game can remain in one. Well, not 8 technically, I guess. Well, 5. There's
and a 2-point conversion is kind of another score, so 8's kind of a different.
That's why I'm including up to 8 because you could get there. It's basically a one-score game. We're literally talking about there's only when you're talking about and complaining about a one-score game being significant, you're only talking about being up by 3, being different than all the others. All the others you definitely would kick because being up 4 is a whole lot better than being up 1. Better than 5 is better than being up 2. Being up 7 is way better than being up 4. 8 is way better than being up 5.
Right, but 3 and 6 is negligible. Seth Walder had his win percentage for that kick.
6 is great because 6 takes you to 9 if you kick a field goal.
If you get the ball back and get into field goal range again, which this offense obviously didn't do.
Well, just talking about if you're there at that spot, if you're the Chiefs and you've got that field goal and it's 4th and 2, you say one possession game, but if you're up by 1, 2, 4, 5, or 6, it absolutely makes the most sense to kick the field goal.
1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. It's definitely 6. That's
1, 2, 4, 5, and 6.
So let's just make it.
3 is the only one that you can really make a case for.
We have to make it about
being
4.
Questionable.
Yeah, 4. Yes, it's different. Because the math is different in the scoring.
So never say that. Don't worry about taking a one possession game into a one possession game because you're only talking about making a 3-point game. Say that because that makes a whole lot more sense, and you'll have a chance to convince me.
You've had a 3-point game that turns into a 6-point game, where the Lions at this point, the only thing that moves the needle for them whatsoever is a touchdown. A touchdown and an extra point, you are now behind again, and you have to put it back in your offense that has admittedly been struggling. I don't think that that's a terribly long leap. And Seth Walder's numbers on the kick versus go there was 74.3% win percentage on the kick, 76 flat on the going for it there on 4th and 2 at the Detroit 21.
1.7% difference.
Which is a pretty
negligible.
Boy, I don't know, man. The punt. You want to talk about the punt on 4th and 4 at the 31, which we could also talk about. That's a 3-point swing, 35.4 to 38.5% from punt to go. We are going to be talking about none of these decisions are going to be double-digit swings. I mean, these are all going to be
sometimes they are
relatively minute. The Lions going for it on 4th and 2 there was 9%, but they did the right thing. So hopefully those don't have to get debated. Maybe they would have to. I don't know.
I will offer as we go to break.
I think Shane Buechele should be on this team.
I think there is a level of value, depending on time in the game, to kick the field goal to go up 6. Now, I would have liked them to go for it on both situations. But going up 6 when there is still 12 minutes to go in the game, I can understand Andy Reid's thought process of we've had back-to-back possessions where we've gotten into field goal range. They still had 2 more possessions left after that to where he says, we're up 6. If they go down and score a touchdown, we still have 2 more possessions to then all we need is a field goal to go and win the game. And if Kadarius Toney does not drop the ball, that thought process by Andy may have worked out. While the process overall of the 4th down choices to kick it, I would disagree with, it came close to working out for Andy Reid. But that's also where you say, in 4 possessions, you got 6 points. Whereas if one of those 4th downs was converted and you scored a touchdown, you would have 7 points because you didn't score any more after that second field goal. There is some value in kicking it to go up 6 with 12 minutes to go in the game.
And then you punt it with 5.
Yeah, there may be less value to go up 6 if there's like a minute and a half to go or 2 minutes to go, and you know you're probably not going to get the ball back, and they're going to go and score a touchdown. It might be difficult for you to then go and win the game. Whereas you pick up that first down, you can then win the game, essentially. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and wrap up. Unfortunately, we'll wrap up our conversation with Matt Derrick. We just started.
Well, Josh wants to wrap it up. I mean,
Whoa.
No, he does not. He wants to keep going.
Josh and I love each other.
I know.
We used to.
Know. We all do.
I still do, man.
Why don't you hold this plexiglass next segment?
Why are you not loving him anymore, Josh?
I'm very fickle.
My feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
Mine too.
All right. We'll take a time.
We're gonna arm wrestle in the break.
I'll do that.
I think after that we'll have all the tension relieved.
Where's that next?
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Now it's your score prediction. Chiefs-Lions kicking off Sunday at noon. We're running it back.
No, they won the Super Bowl. That's why they played last night.
I would like to point out that I gave 2 predictions this week: a post Travis Kelce injury and a pre Travis Kelce injury, and both of them were wrong. So, winner, chicken dinner.
Nice job. Well, Matt, you did not fumble or drop this segment.
We didn't even drop
hour.
the plexiglass.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, it would have stayed intact. It's very tough.
It's a game day plexiglass.
That's right. It's got more dynamism than the Chiefs receivers right now, or last night.
Put that out there on 3rd and short.
We'll throw something at it. Nope, no hands.
They dropped it as well. Why is that guy running the other way with the plexiglass? Damn it. Thanks, Matt.
Get stocked up for all the football action this weekend with great specials from the Butcher Block at your neighborhood hen house. How about top sirloin filet? I'm talking USDA Choice Certified Hereford beef, 6 ounces.
Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We'll hang out with Mick Schaefer for a little bit. We got the cuts before the show is over as well. Let's hang out with Kendall Gammon. Kendall Gammon on the Zone, brought to you by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen, recognized as the #1 place to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. Visit crownautomotive.com to see the latest deals. Experience the Crown difference. Kendall, welcome in the show. I'm assuming not great, but I'll still ask, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good. Pittsburgh State 140-14 last night, so I'm happy about it. They're 2-0. That's what you're asking about, right?
That's exactly right. The main conversation we are going to have today is, Pittsburgh State. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, exactly right.
I wonder how many people would rather talk about that.
Well, you know what? At this point, no, they wouldn't, because that game went well for the Gorillas. But obviously last night and what Kansas City did and what was witnessed was shocking, to say the least, I think. That being said, Big Red talked about it afterwards, which even with the loss of Kelsey and Chris not being there, that they had a chance to make plays and win the game, and they just didn't. So they're correctable, but that being said, even if you correct them, you're still 0-1.
Kendall Gammon is our guest. One of the things I was going to ask you is your takeaway from the game. So was that sort of the general takeaway? Is that things are correctable? I mean, the old saying, it's always better to lose from a win than learn from a win than learn from a loss. Yeah. But the things you saw last night, more correctable than, fatal flaws or anything?
I think so. I mean, ultimately, I'm not splitting atoms here. Catch the ball. I mean, the defense, to only give up 14 points to Detroit, I thought that was fabulous. So, they had their chances. I mean, there's just those two big drops by Kadarius, and obviously one goes the other way for 6, and then you had it with Sky Moore as well. I think he was 0 for 3 on targets and catches. So, and those guys know it. I'm not trying to get on them, but you do just have to look at the facts and understand that has to get better. And nobody needs to tell them. Somebody will, but nobody needs to. They know it. They're professionals. But that was a rough one because ultimately, the Chiefs are the better team in my opinion. If you have Kelsey there, besides catching a few passes at the very least and getting some chunks like he normally does, it allows the other receivers to look better than they did last night, because I felt like there were several times where you just weren't getting the separation. So you had that, and then I'm jumping all over the board, but you had that, and there was time to get separation because I thought the offensive line, for the most part, really protected Patrick very well.
Yeah, you know what? That was one of the actual pros that I had. I know the last possession for the Chiefs left a lot to be desired with the holding penalty on Donovan Smith on the reception Sky Moore actually had in the game that was then erased because of the holding penalty. Right. And then, Jawan Taylor finally called for the false start that everybody was clamoring for on Twitter. So that final possession wasn't great. Responding after a loss. This team is a Super Bowl champion team. It's a tried and true. They've been through the fires before. What do you think about this team, and how do you expect them to respond after a loss like this?
Well, I have no doubt they'll respond well. Unfortunately, they have extra time to think about it, and they won't practice extra. They'll probably be maybe more focused, but they'll have a chance to look at the film and get more cerebral, get more mental reps and thoughts on what happened, and as you said, learn from the loss. But when it comes down to it, it's only 1 of 17, and I think Big Red alluded to that. If he didn't, I know he will in meetings. And I remember that, from my days with a lot of coaches, but especially Coach Cowher, who I very much compare to Big Red. And he was always big on the fact of, even if you didn't play well, the fact is, it's at the time, it's 1 of 16. Now it's 1 of 17. And you can't let the past having a bad effect on the future and what you need to do. You do have to flush that from your mind once you learn from it.
Is that easy to do?
I think it is. I think when you get to this level, it is, or otherwise you wouldn't be at this level. You have to have a healthy ego, even above healthy ego at times, to play in this league, and especially at the wide receiver and defensive back position. So, I think that's fine. You've got the right leadership inside the locker room with Kelsey and Mahomes, and I'm not worried. I'm concerned. I'm looking more forward to this next game than I would have been because I want to see how they respond, just like what you're asking about.
Kendall Gammon is our guest, presented by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen. A loss is a loss, but if there's a better loss, I'll ask it this way. I mean, is it better to feel like you lost the game and you caused issues and shot yourself in the foot rather than the other team winning and felt like, you know what, that's just a better team. We got our butts whooped by them, and not many adjustments we can make to beat those guys on that sideline. What's a better way to lose, I guess? Not being able to sleep because you feel like you lost the game yourself, or the other team just simply won?
Great question, no question about it, which is the fact is, I mean, everybody in that locker room, including Big Red, even that he said, hey, no excuses. But they know they're the better team. I mean, if Kelsey's in there, it's a different game, in my opinion. And, Detroit came in and they did enough and they stole one. And when you let a visiting team stay in the game like they did, eventually they get a little confidence, they do some things and make the right moves, and that happens. That being said, again, I mean, they scored 14 points offensively. That's a good defensive effort, and that's where I'm going with that is if you really want to be upbeat about something, this is a good Detroit Lions offense, and the Chiefs defense, I thought, held up pretty darn well with it.
Yeah, and they couldn't get the stop on the final possession, which I think those final two possessions, one for the Chiefs and then for the Lions, have a lot of people focusing on, some of the offensive line issues. I'm more pointing nationally. Then defensively, Chris Jones just made a lot of money because they didn't get a stop on that set of downs. And it's like, I feel like watching that game throughout the entirety in the course of the game and not focusing on one possession defensively when the team was probably worn down. And, Chris Jones would have helped. He would have made a difference in the game. But the takeaway from that game can't be, boy, Brett Veach has to just go pay Chris Jones whatever he wants. Like, the takeaway from that game is, man, I was impressed by how well the defense held up.
There's no question about it. I'm curious your thoughts, but from my standpoint, what I see and what I expect to come into the game is whether the Chiefs got 40 scored on them or whether the Chiefs somehow found a way to go negative and hold them to below 0 points. I mean, you're just going crazy, being great. It has no bearing, in my opinion, on what the Chiefs are going to do with Chris Jones. I think they're where they want to be. I think Chris is where he wants to be, and they can't figure it out right now. They will eventually, I believe. And the fact is that game last night, no matter how it went, in my opinion, was not going to make any difference on anything. That being said, everybody does the right things, and I think they believe him, which is the Chiefs are a better team with Chris Jones there, and Chris Jones is a great player and deserves some type of raise, as he puts it. But what it is, that's what they can't figure out, but they need to sooner than later.
How would you feel as a player, Kendall, if you're down there on the field and you're going through that and you walk off the field a 1-point loss and you're starting the season 0-1 and up in the club level in a suite watching the game was number 95 because he wants a few more $1 million than what the Chiefs are offering when he's made 67 in his career already. How would that go over in the locker room with maybe you personally, but maybe just in general with athletes, knowing that that man was in the building just to watch it and bought a ticket to be there, but wasn't there on the sideline or on the field?
Well, all the times that I held out for more. You're going to pay me the minimum, and that's it. You know what? Having been through it with some guys, it may sound kind of weird, but in my opinion, and certainly from my experience, you don't think about any of that stuff. That's the business side of it, and you know that Chris Jones wants to be out there and he wants to help, and you just I don't know how to say it, but my psyche, and I believe the team psyche in general, is always we play with who's here. We understand that those things are going on. We can't control it. We don't hate him for it. He's doing what he thinks is the right thing. You just go on, and quite honestly, in the NFL season, so much is happening in terms of meetings and practice, and your time is all spoken for. You don't have much time to really think and dive into some of that stuff. Now, a few people may, but for the most part, you don't. And in my experience, again, in those 15 years that I played, I never heard it talked about in the locker room. And it just as far as bad, good, whatever. You might talk about maybe where it's at and whether we think he's coming in soon or not. But other than that, not much said about it.
Visiting with Kendall Gammon, presented by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen here in the Zone. Jason Anderson with you on this Friday. Chiefs lose 21-20 to the Lions yesterday, start out 0-1. As you watch the game and come away from the game, and we talked about some of those takeaways and fixable things, one of the issues that has been a bugaboo for Andy Reid and this team the last couple of years, and it showed up last night, is a short yardage situation.
Yeah.
Can you put your finger on as to, I mean, I guess if somebody could figure it out, then they could sell it to Andy Reid and then they'd be fine. But
right.
can you, put your finger on or come up with any particular reason as to why this team in 3 yards or fewer is pretty anemic and pedestrian, quite frankly, and they were last night. They had 9 plays, Kendall, on second or third and 2 or fewer. So 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. They had 9 plays, resulted in 3 first downs. The other 6 plays were -3 yards, and the final 5 instances of those were not converted. 2nd and 2 incomplete, 3rd and 2 incomplete, 2nd and 1 Kadarius Toney -1 yard run, 3rd and 2 incomplete, 3rd and 1 Rashee Rice -3 yards running. Can you put your finger onto why this team in short yardage just can't get it done?
Well, I mean, history says that last night specifically, I think Kelsey would have made a big difference, not only to maybe get a couple himself, but then, if he's getting doubled or bracketed up top by safety, now all of a sudden somebody else has a more open field to deal with, and maybe the receivers get more separation. But in general, no. And I had it asked to me also about, the Chiefs get too cute on these plays or whatever, and some of the things that we saw that were done. I thought some of the plays were pretty well designed and came off of something else that they did in the preseason. And oftentimes I think with that, Jason, is when those cute or very, very unusual plays happen, if they work, all of a sudden, it's a beautiful mind, and he's Russell Crowe, and he's the genius and everything. And if they don't work, then it goes to, well, we're just trying to get too cute. We just need to run it off tackle. So I think a lot of that is hindsight. But to your point, you would like to think that you could do things better than that. I just think with the new receivers and everything going on and the loss of Kelsey, I think specifically last night that was a big culprit.
They got what I was hoping they would do, Kendall. I talked about this in the first hour, that they've got the 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, and Blake Bell goes under center. And one of the things I'd been asking for is change up the pace, because Blake Bell and Noah Gray, when they have done it, they ran up there and tried to trick them, and then they went really fast. And as Blake Bell went in motion, somebody for Detroit yelled, "Here it comes," or "There he is," or something like that. They were expecting it. They were waiting for it, and a hard count, and he jumped off sides. Like, reach out and touch him. Reach out and touch. You did it. You did it. You got the free first down.
Yep, and I actually didn't see that from where I was sitting.
Okay.
I was behind the offense, but I didn't see that. So that's interesting. But you're absolutely right, because generally that's a surprise play, and you try to catch them off guard. And those defensive linemen are antsy anyhow. They've got to be, or else they're going to get rolled. So I don't know. I felt like Juwan at the right tackle on maybe that specific play, or one other. Somehow he let his 5 technique, who I felt like was playing on his outside eye, slant in, and I don't know whether there was a lack of understanding, whether they thought it was actually a sneak, but I thought that defensive tackle came in almost unabated and helped to close that play down.
Yeah, it was. I watched it again this morning. It was actually Trey Smith. The guy lined up right off his right shoulder. Trey Smith sprung off the ball, and the guy just went by him. I mean, it was they had no chance. Tooney got blown up in the backfield, and so Rice had to sort of weave a little bit to his right, and then Trey Smith just whiffed. I mean, if he gets a body on him, there is a wall developing to the outside to where you got, I think it was Taylor, McKinnon was out there, maybe Noah Gray. I can't remember who the outside receiver was, but they had essentially 3 to block 2 on the edge there, that I think Rashee Rice, actually, if he gets by that guy, he might be able to turn the corner and pick up a decent amount of yards, not only just the first down, but it's execution, one thing like that. And Trey Smith is really good. He didn't have a great game last night. He had the holding against Aiden Hutchinson, who's really tough to go up against. And and that play stood out as well. So even on this short yardage, maybe it's as simple as that, Kendall, is that, on short yardage situations, there's more scheme to it. So you've got to execute better, whereas 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 is more talent, and Mahomes just simply go be Mahomes.
Yeah, and you know what? Something that comes to mind. Those are all great points. Something that comes to mind also with the running game in general is I thought Pacheco showed the rustiness. And he flashed a couple times, but I was surprised how much Hilaire played, and I don't see the pop that I was telling my son Blaze. We were watching the game together, and I don't see the pop that I saw his rookie year, and I think he's just still slowed down a little bit. But I think it was maybe that first drive where they, on an off-tackle play, they cut the defense well, the offensive line of Kansas City, to where there was a cut back or just a straight vertical cut, and he missed it. And I think that was on the first drive that would have maybe kept things alive.
It was Edwards-Helaire that did not even see the cutback. Yeah.
I mean, it was blocked as well as you could block it. And that was a 15, 20-yard gain as well, 2 or 3 yards for you and I, but for him, down a couple, 10, 15. Yeah. So I just think there was some rustiness there, and the running game didn't provide enough, in my opinion.
Are you surprised that there were no plays designed to get Jerick McKinnon the ball? He had 2 touches in the game. One was a 3rd down and 2 that Mahomes ended up scrambling and threw the lob little touch pass over the defender to Jerick McKinnon, who picked up 10 yards. And the other touch he had was on 3rd and 2 when Mahomes had the guy on his leg and he was standing there and he threw it over and McKinnon dropped the ball. Those are the only 2 times, and those were sort of scrambling, kind of making it up. Are you surprised that throughout the entire game, not one play was, hey, let's get the ball to Jerick McKinnon?
I am. We were talking about that as well, my son and I, and surprised that just in general, not getting swing passes out to the flat. Now, obviously, Andy understands things better than us, and there may be some other things that we're not seeing. But just in general, I feel like that is something that I thought Hilaire would have done more of early on, and I never saw it. And in general, McKinnon, you get him in space, I think he's a pretty special player. I don't buy the whole diminutive stature and can't handle the roughness of everything. I think he runs well between the tackles. I think sometimes when you're small, you're harder to see, harder to hit. But certainly swing out of the backfield, we don't see that much, and I don't know why for sure, because I think he's a matchup nightmare for linebackers. I'll tell you one thing, that one catch that he did have from Mahomes, the throw that Mahomes made and then the catch that he made was phenomenal. And I know it was after a little bit of a scramble, but my goodness, those are special plays, and you would think because of that you could do some more stuff as well. But again, we probably have to watch it again and see if they're doing some things that precluded that from happening.
Visiting with Kendall Gammon, presented by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen. We haven't talked specifically the offensive line. We kind of just talked in generalities of what they did. What was your assessment overall of this offensive line with 2 brand new tackles?
I thought they did a pretty darn good job. I didn't sit there and key in, but I did see, and I forget the guy, the new tackle on the left side.
Donovan Smith.
Name. Yeah, I felt like there was a couple times where he's just not used to how many ticks you really have to block for number 1-5 because of how he moves around in the pocket and gets out, and you just have to keep going. I thought 1 sack or 1 tackle, I don't know if it was a sack, but at least a pressure. I think he had a chance to maybe abate that had he kept going, but I think he thought that the play was borderline over. And then from 1-5's position, I thought he sat in the pocket better than I've ever seen, moved in the pocket better than I've ever seen, and then escaped and was still able to look downfield a lot. And then there's several times where he understood that I've got to go get it. People just weren't getting separation from what I saw, and he realized he had to do something. And he borderline took the team on his back with the rushing yards. I mean, I think he tied for the rushing leader, was the rushing leader with 36, something like that. But I don't know. I think in general, you can take a positive away from the offensive line because I believe they're only going to get better, and I thought they showed pretty well last night.
What did you make of you weren't on Twitter, so during the game, so you didn't see the constant tweets and videos of Jawan Taylor and how he was aligned and the looking like illegal formation, and he was aligned pretty deep back, and I would say that Chiefs fans would be pretty frustrated if the exact opposite was happening. And it looked like he was early. He has done an amazing job of timing the snap count to where his right back foot is sliding back right as Creed Humphrey's getting ready to, and then snaps the football. It's almost instantaneous. It feels like maybe a little bit earlier. But clearly, Kendall, if the officials felt like it was an issue, they would have thrown a flag on that. And that's kind of been what Jawaan Taylor has done, and he did it in preseason as well. What do you make of those things, to where it certainly looked like it was a false start? It was a little bit early, but it was that back right foot that was moving, not necessarily his body or anything like that. I know that from your perspective, it was probably hard to see because you're, in the end zone there, but I don't know if you got a chance to see any of that stuff, and a big conversation last night about Jawaan Taylor and his sets and get-offs.
Well, I saw that a little bit, but not as much as you all may have seen it. I will say this, you've got, I don't know if it's a line judge or somebody else, but they are looking specifically at the tackles. But I think they're more focused on the upper body and everything, and happen to see other things as opposed to the foot. But that being said, I mean, I can remember in my career watching tackles like that. I was on the, obviously I'm not out there, but seeing things go on from the opponents. And you do see some of those tackles that are just, it really looks like they're jumping the gun. And I don't know, from the talk, were the coaches for Detroit going nuts? Because oftentimes they will be.
It looked like they were, but I mean, maybe Twitter was going nuts on their behalf. I don't know.
Right, exactly. But a lot of the difference makes a lot of difference is made oftentimes in which direction you're going, and whether he's more visible to the opponent's sideline, or he's on the other one away and not as easy. And I think the officials, even though they would say they're not, I think they're a little bit more swayed if they're on the side of the opponent team that's yelling about it. So I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. And what you said is ultimately the truth, because if the officials really thought that was happening, they would have called it once. And so he's getting off. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah.
That being said, this next game, make no mistake, if it's happening, if it's close, the head coach or some other coaches will talk to the official beforehand and said, hey, you need to watch the right tackle and what's going on.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Kendall Gammon, our guest, he is presented each and every week by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen. Kendall, appreciate it as always, brother. We will talk next week previewing the Chiefs and Jags week number 2 to see if the Chiefs can get back to 500. Kendall, you're the man. Really appreciate the time, brother.
You bet. Take care.
All right, there's Kendall Gammon, brought to you by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen, recognized as the #1 place to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. Visit crownautomotive.com to see the latest deals. Experience the Crown difference. There is Kendall Gammon, and talking about this Chiefs loss last night, as he says, a lot of fixable things, a lot of fixable errors, nothing that he felt like was a fatal flaw, things that they can improve on, get better at. Just end up losing that game and felt like they were the better team, but they didn't win. And you can feel like the better team all you want. We've talked about that a number of times with this Chiefs team, and they lost the game. Sometimes you are. The Chiefs were clearly better than the Colts last year. They lost that game. I think the Chiefs with Kelsey and Jones, and it's a different script. But the script last night is the Chiefs started out 0-1, and we'll see where they go from here to the drawing board for a number of different things. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Mick Schaefer joins us next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sport.
Thank you to Kendall Gammon joining us. Appreciate him.
Thanks.
You know, he had a halfway good night. Pitt State won for him.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I had
Northwest got upset by Emporia, by a lot. I saw.
It was upsetting. It is exactly right. It was a rough night. Chiefs and Northwest both lose. And Pitt State won. So I mean, that's a triple whammy right there.
Royals did not lose yesterday.
That's right. Look at that silver
Somebody's
lining.
looking on the wrong side of things.
That's exactly right. Yes, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, only looking at the negatives that are going on in life and not focusing on the positives that we did not have to watch the Royals last night, although nobody would have. Well, I guess if they were in Toronto playing, maybe Blue Jays.
Did you see they all wore their Chiefs
yeah.
jerseys and jinxed the Chiefs?
Do you think the Chiefs are going to have a 312 winning percentage?
Who was wearing the Kadarius Toney jersey? That's what I want to know.
The Royals have a better win percentage than the Chiefs.
Wow, that's true. Tough but fair.
That is actually a fact.
Now,
that is an absolute fact.
If the Chiefs can go 1-1 their next 2 games, they will then have a higher win percentage at 333, I believe, right?
That's correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
They can be 1-2.
And still have a higher one,
yeah. We'll see. Mick Schaefer is our guest. Hey, let's give away some Monarchs tickets, shall we? That's fun.
That sounds like fun.
They play tonight.
Playoffs are going on. They're taking on Sioux Falls.
Yeah, they could end the series tonight.
Yep. Sioux Falls in town to take on the Monarchs. Let's give away some playoff tickets. Let's do caller number 8 and
10.
9. I don't know. 9 seems like no, because then it's back to back for Dylan to answer the phone. Maybe a little bit of space between the two. 8 and maybe 10. Let's do 8 and 10. Let's do 8 and 10. It gives Dylan a lot of time to really rest his vocal cords.
We could do 7 and 10, and then it'll be the Chiefs' record this year.
Why don't you guys ever do caller 81 and caller 0?
Because
I try to do caller 810 all the time, and Drake always said, "No, I'm not." It's just
Dylan doesn't let us have nice things. Yeah, so 913-381-810, caller 8 and 10. Take home some Monarchs playoff tickets.
That 9th caller. Do you let him know when you're the 9th caller?
Dude, I heard one time. I don't know if he does this all the time or not, but Drake was answering the phone, and I had walked by the control room there, and he picked up the phone. He's like, "Caller 7, so close." And I hung up. I don't know if he does it every time, but that would suck. I don't know. Is it
Chris Berman, caller number 9? What?
You know what? You should call back. But you can't because the phone lines are packed. So sorry about that. I don't know. Would I rather be like caller 3 or 4 or caller like 7, 9, or 11?
3 or 4 because you could then turn right around and time it out. I think to get into that 8 to 10 wheelhouse.
You get one shot.
That's
Those
it.
Lines, once it's picked up and somebody's hung up, it's already filled up again. So I think you get one shot, one opportunity. It's like B-Rabbit. Mom spaghetti, which you could probably take to the Monarchs game tonight if you want to.
They'll let spaghetti in.
And there was a lot of Mom spaghetti on Chiefs wide receiver sweaters yesterday.
Well, on gloves too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem.
They probably should not do that. Hey, Sports Radio 810 Football Pro Pick'em is back. You can show off your skills and play and win all season long. We've got weekly prizes and an overall season winner. Head to 810whb.com/pick'em to register and join in on the action. Play against your favorite on-air personalities. You can do that too. Sports Radio 810 Football Pro Pick'em, sponsored by Robert Brogdon Buick GMC, Kansas Lottery, Family Leisure, and Tanner's. Head to 810whb.com/pick'em now. So go there and check out, because there's weekly prizes, so it'll be a season-long prize, but weekly prizes. So even if you struggled last week, you can bounce right back like the Chiefs and go and win against a good opponent like the Jags by double digits. Mick?
Certainly something that could happen.
How the hell are you?
I'm tired.
I bet you are. I bet you are tired. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of this damn losing by the Chiefs. This team, since winning the Super Bowl, is 2-2.
They haven't won in like 7 months.
They won the Super Bowl, and they clearly just started reading the newspaper, which I don't know why they would do that, but reading their press clip, reading the newspaper online. Mm-hmm. They've been doing that. Press clippings. I don't know who's clipping it for them and letting them read that.
They've been printing off tweets and reading them.
That's right. They got caught up into their own success. and they have yet to win a game that matters since then.
Look, that's probably not true, right?
Oh.
But that looked like a punch-drunk team from the offseason last night. Absolutely. That did not look like an Andy Reid. I'm prepared way more than you for week 1.
Rodney Harrison, before the game, said he was like, they were down on the field, right, and doing stuff. It was on 41. Who knows who watches that? But it was right before the game. They were getting ready to give all their predictions and everything. And he said, he was like, I don't see the juice with the Chiefs right now. He's like, it just feels like they're flat. He's like, the Lions, you can tell the difference. And Lions fans are juiced up. He's like, but it kind of feels flat right now. He still picked the Chiefs, I believe.
Dungy was the only one, I think.
Dungy
right,
picked the Lions. I liked Dungy's thought process of they lost Juju, they lost Orlando Brown, and they lost a starting safety. So they've lost a lot of guys off this team.
He knows that there's other guys that came and filled their spots, right? They're not just
think
playing
so.
with like 9 on defense.
I don't think so, and 10 on offense. I'm not sure. Now, had he said Travis Kelce's not playing, Chris Jones isn't playing, these are things that are tough to overcome. That would make sense. But left tackle, wide receiver, and starting safety, not exactly where people were going. I think the Lions are going to win because Juan Thornhill's in Cleveland.
Also, some exclusive reporting here from Twitter. It appears that Rodney Harrison and Tony Dungy both picked the Lions.
Oh, did they pick the Lions? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's very cool also because it's the first time in Sunday Night Football history that both of them have been right on the same week.
Well, thanks a lot, Chiefs, Andy Reid. I didn't see who they picked or anything, but I thought that people were saying only Tony Dungy picked the Chiefs. But I just remember him saying, like, it just feels flat right now looking at the Chiefs sideline. And maybe it was. Maybe it was. And maybe they'll be good to go and ready to go in week number 2. But it's also part of why defending your championship is difficult, because you're playing regular season games, and the most recent 3 games you played were life or death sort of as your season goes along. Jags, Bengals, Eagles, and now you turn right around. It's like, all right, let's get this thing started again. Maybe it's tough to match that. All that being said, they still had plenty of opportunities to win.
Oh, yeah. All that being said, with those 2 guys out,
yeah,
even if they were flat, they still should have won that game.
They still should have won that game, right? I mean, they had mammoth mistakes.
They could have survived
constantly.
3 Tony drops, just that 4th one. That if he catches that last one, they win the game.
I agree with that.
And a total redemption
he's
story.
at the 35-yard line with a blocker and 2 safeties, I think, in front of him, but they're like 10 yards away. He's getting down to the 20, probably at least. And we've seen him in open spaces. He could have made a move and likely scored.
And then they let that thing run down to the 2-minute warning. And then they try
go
to pick
for
up
the touchdown. Oh no, wait! They
try to pick up one more first down, which would drain the timeouts for the Lions, and then kick the field goal. And we're talking about 23-21. It wasn't pretty. They found a way to get it done. Clearly, there's some things they need to improve on. They were off the tick with Mahomes and the receivers.
That happens like 8 games a year with this team, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Man, have you seen this team play this bad?" I'm like, "Yes, they always play like this. They went to the overtime with the Texans, right? Remember that Rams game last year was just a clunker that they won.
They went into overtime with Malik Willis at quarterback for the Titans. They lost to the Colts. The Lions are a better team than the Colts. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Yeah.
The Lions this year are a better team than the Colts last year. And they lost that game last year.
So we talked last year like, okay, you always lose a game. You're not supposed to. Maybe this was it with the Colts. I think it was. But they spent their chance in Yahtzee really early. And if this is their chance in Yahtzee, it is the earliest.
Boy, I love that one.
Love that.
Yeah, it's random that you would do that. There's so many different things you can use besides your chance this early.
Yes,
you don't have your 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind.
Just do,
you don't have your
put
full
a
house.
4 next to the 2s. Okay,
I mean, don't waste your chance on 16 points. That doesn't make sense.
Right?
By the way, can we put money on this Yahtzee game that this person used their chance already? Oh, that's great. Boy, I just really love that analogy. I love that. It's so great.
I borrowed it from somebody. I don't remember who.
Yahtzee.
But I don't
borrowed
know.
it from a
You
game
guys
called
probably
Yahtzee.
said everything today.
Nope.
Have you? I saw this theory that seems like an extreme thing on the internet last night, but I don't think it's extreme at all. 4th and 25. Why doesn't Mahomes run back to the 9 and take a knee?
Absolutely, just run out of bounds. Yeah, it
Well,
wouldn't matter.
It stops the clock.
Run out of bounds or take a knee. Either way, it's a
And
turnover.
they're either gonna get, now barring a defensive penalty, but they're either getting a touchdown, field goal, or turnover and downs. But you're gonna get the ball back, most likely down 1 score. Now it's the Lions. Maybe they're like, okay, I see what you're doing. We're going for 2 here.
And we're
Maybe
going
they go up
9.
9. But I think of the 3 scenarios of punt, go for it there, and do that, I think that gives you the best chance of winning.
Yeah, I mean,
I think what they chose was the worst. Now, I'm not going to put the game on that decision right there, especially not that fourth down decision.
Especially not when the ball hits Sky Moore in the hands.
I didn't really. I looked back. I was listening to you guys earlier. I actually listened to some, and I couldn't believe it. I thought that was like underthrown and got tipped and whatever. At that point, it's like. At that point, like, okay, it's impossible to catch a football. Nobody can do it. I don't know why they're trying. This is like the hardest thing in the world, right? It's like it's all of a sudden like harder than hitting a baseball. They say, oh, take a round ball, a round bat, hit him squarely. I'm like, okay, take 10 fingers and 2 palms and catch a sphere.
And receiver gloves that are pretty freaking sticky.
Yeah.
And
put them on the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, that's right. There was and this is where it's like, hold on, you found a way to criticize Mahomes? Not at all. McKinnon was just nobody within 15 yards of him at the top of the screen. Yeah, if he now Mahomes is running all the way to his left.
I have to think that's almost and I don't know for sure, but that's almost like a one option deal, almost like a WASP deal, to where like, okay, this is what we dial up. And I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth, because when they went for which I think it's kind of impossible not to do. Always doing that. When they got the 3rd and 17, I'm like, that's a bad call for them to take that penalty for the Lions.
I thought the same thing. Why didn't the Lions
Because they're going to punt at 4th and 2.
Yes.
And this team is better at 3rd and 17. So, 25 yards, 17 yards, not too much difference. I still would have punted there. But, yeah, it seemed like that was okay. This is a WASP type play. We're looking to get – there's like guys going out in patterns, plenty of them running routes, but there's really only one target there.
And again, he's running all the way to his left, and as soon as he stops to look upfield, there are 3 Lions defenders in front of him. So for him to be able to look through those guys all the way back to the other sideline to see McKinnon standing wide open, because if he hits McKinnon catches the ball, and it's Justin Watson and Sky Moore to block C.J. Gardner-Johnson up there. I mean, it's a first down and maybe, a whole lot more. But, that's also asking Mahomes to do a lot, because nobody guarded McKinnon. He stayed in and blocked, and then he released, and nobody went with the release man, because they were all playing 30 yards deep.
Yeah.
They were all worried about the wide receivers. Nobody was there. But it's also throwing the ball short of the sticks by about 10 yards and then letting him run. Again, it's one particular play decision in a game that there were a lot of plays that the Chiefs had opportunities to make and win that thing, and they just didn't do it time and time and time again. They made a couple of plays. MVS made an amazing play on that 3rd and 17 to make the catch.
That was a hell of a catch.
He is the number 1 receiver in Chiefs history in making catches that it takes me 4 seconds to say, he caught the ball.
True, because a lot of times he's just like curled over it, and you're like, okay, is he
the touchdown against the Bengals on 3rd down when he caught the ball and sat there, and I'm like, he caught it. And then that one, I actually thought he was knocking the ball out of the defender's hands because of the collision happening like that. And he laid there, and it wasn't until Tirico was like, and he makes the catch. He caught it.
I mean, that's a tough catch without a guy running 20 miles an hour right at you to blow you up.
Yeah, I would have also liked to see maybe more targets to MVS, since he was one of the guys that was
really
able to make some catches, the ball thrown his way.
I don't know if he wasn't that guy last year. I don't know if he's going to be that guy. He was never that guy in Green Bay.
Every
receiver was who we thought they were last night.
Every receiver was who they were at the end of last season, which is a distinction I'm making, just because that offseason jump didn't happen for these guys as of last night.
There's also like the impact of Travis Kelce. We know that, but I also think the impact of Travis Kelce in terms of Mahomes, where he throws the football, because there were a couple of plays where Noah Gray was wide open, like on the pick 6. Noah Gray ran 5 yards past the sticks, came back, and he was just surrounded by green grass. And Mahomes hit Kadarius Toney underneath. If that's 87, well, maybe they're defending him differently. But if that's 87 who turns around and comes back and green grass all around him, Mahomes is hitting him between the 8 and the 7, and it's a first down. The 8 and the 3, Mahomes looks and goes to number 19, and it results in 7. Now, maybe that's a trust thing that eventually he'll go, you know what, Noah Gray was open on that one. If Kelce's out, I'm going to look for him on that one. There was a block and release by Noah Gray on a 3rd down, and nobody guarded him, and Mahomes looked left and hit somebody else, and Noah Gray was like, hey, I'm right here, which clearly probably would have had somebody on Kelce, but if they didn't, Mahomes would have hit Kelce on that particular play. So there's a little bit of the defense changes, but also I think trust. And I don't know that I trust Noah Gray on third down.
Yeah.
I trust Kadarius Toney coming across the field on third down.
It felt like Mahomes was surprised at how much time he had last night. I don't know if I've ever seen a game where he went through more progressions, right? And it felt like as he was moving to that second or third progression, he started to get the antsy, happy feet, like, okay, Orlando Brown's not out here anymore. And he had more time than he thought, but he almost looked uncomfortable getting to that third read. And then the one good thing about, being in the press box at Arrowhead when you're on the moon, basically, is that you can see, routes develop and everything. And I always like to be like, when a guy's open, I'm like, there he is, that's touchdown. You got to hit him, right? And I wasn't doing that much last night. There weren't too many guys just breaking open. And you saw that in the time he took. The good thing is that he had a lot of time. I thought the offensive line did a great job. Pass blocking, maybe, they've never been able to run the ball. But that's the most important thing is the pass blocking with this team. And
I think you're onto something with just like him looking uncomfortable to where the O-line is just going to have to earn his trust over some period of time.
I thought he escaped the pocket a couple times when he didn't even need to.
And I don't think that's Mahomes knowingly not trusting them. It's just, you're right. Last year was Orlando Brown and Andrew Wiley. If this is an upgrade on both sides, it's going to take a little bit of time before that clock in his head slows down again.
It was an upgrade last night, certainly.
Absolutely.
And we'll see.
All preseason long, they look better.
Yep.
We'll see moving forward.
They both had reputations of Taylor jumping early, Smith for holding. They both lived up to those.
On the last series.
late in the game.
Worst timing of it all. Boy, all of the timing was off last night.
Yes.
We'll take a timing out. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com.
right, wrapping up this hour. One more hour to go on this Friday edition of The Zone. Not a Victory Friday. Chiefs starting off 0-1. Chiefs are in last place in the NFL right now. They are in last place in the division. They are in last place in the AFC. I did not have money on them being in last place in the AFC this year. Right now, they would have the number one pick if the season ended today. The Lions would have the 32nd pick, and then everybody would have coin flips. From 2 through 31.
Be a hell of a thing.
Why would... Stop the count! Chiefs get the number one pick in the draft. Marvin Harrison Jr., come on down.
Go find Brock
we'll
Bowers,
take him.
too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take them both.
Anybody related to Marvin Harrison?
Play like bigger booby ears for Marvin Harrison Jr.
That was embarrassing for Harrison.
I'm here at the ballpark with Brad McGee from LBA Home Services. Brad, you look annoyed.
Just look at all those people leaving.
The Zone is brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. There are probably plenty of plays in the game last night where Lions fans or Lions analysts are dissecting and saying, oh, huge missed opportunity right there. I mean, Goff had this guy wide open over there. They're probably also looking at Marvin Jones fumbling.
The fumble, yeah,
down
that's
inside
it.
the 10-yard line. But, like, looking through, it's like, oh, hey, this cutback was here for Gibbs, or they could have done the way that we are. But, man, Nate Tice's timeline on Twitter X, just going through how sloppy the Chiefs receivers were on some of the routes, how awful some of the execution was by the Chiefs last night. When you've got the all-22 and you see the eye in the sky, and oh boy. And just some others to where it's like, okay, Mahomes chose to go here, was an incomplete pass because of receiver dropping it or something else. Okay, well, he had an open receiver over there, but now you know, well, this guy dropped the ball, so I guess I should have gone to the open receiver over there. Well, yeah, like the throw to Kadarius Toney on first down that was sort of batted down by Jack Campbell, and Toney was kind of there, which, by the way, Kadarius Toney runs through 15 yards of green grass to run to where Jack Campbell is standing to get the ball, so he probably needs to settle there and let Mahomes sort of throw him the ball.
Was that the play right before the pick six, or at least a couple plays before?
It was not before the pick six. The one right before the pick six, Noah Gray was open over the middle. But even on that play, he did throw it over an open Noah Gray to Kadarius Toney. Because it's first down, and I get it from Mahomes. This guy's open. That guy's open for 20. I'm going to take the guy that's open for 20. It's just Kadarius Toney kept drifting towards the linebacker to where then Mahomes, to put it on Toney, Jack Campbell was there. If Kadarius Toney stops drifting.
If he stops on the logo.
He catches it, turns, and picks up another 10 yards in open space.
Yeah, that's the play I was thinking of.
But
is that not the same drive as the pick six?
I don't remember. I'll check my notes after I watch it one more time. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
So, did that pass get tipped there? Or
it got knocked down by Jack Campbell. So Campbell made the play there. But, it's a play that could have been avoided.
And that's the whole thing. When you watch the all-22, you see how quarterbacks and receivers almost.
Yep.
Yeah, it was only a couple plays later. Yeah.
First down, incomplete to Kadarius Toney. Second down and 10, Clyde Edwards-Helaire runs for 4 yards. Third down and 6, Kadarius Toney drops the ball.
So you see the all-22, you have to see how these quarterbacks and receivers almost have to predict the future, right? Mm-hmm. This is where I need to be. Well, he's not out of his break yet, but I need to throw the ball right now. I'm going to throw it right here. Hopefully everything times up. Nothing timed up last night.
And see, that's where, is it a concern? Hell yeah, it's a concern from last night. Is it a fatal flaw? Well, I don't know, because guys were open. The timing was off. Next time Kadarius Toney runs that in that situation, if he's got the same look, does he sit down? Does he stop and wait instead of drifting because he hadn't played during the preseason? Is that knocking the rust off? I don't know. Does Mahomes say, you know what? I'm going to take, it's first down on this drive. We're going to get a drive starter. I'm going to take Noah Gray right there for 7 yards, and we're going to keep it moving. Does he do that next time? I don't know. But I totally understand why Mahomes would throw it past an open Noah Gray to Kadarius Toney 20 yards down the field.
Because that has been Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, and it's the Chiefs' offense. It should be the Chiefs' offense. Yes. I mean, there are a number of checkdowns that you can throw. There are a number. The Richie James play was like for 5 or 6 yards. Justin Ross was a specific. Here's a 6-yard pass play to get the drive started. It's a drive starter for 6 yards to Justin Ross. That play was not that. Toney was open. So next week, the week after that, they get on the same page. The Richie James, Kadarius Toney crossers that hits Toney in the leg and then drops.
They almost hit each other.
Yeah. Was somebody supposed to delay? Was Richie James supposed to go on the backside?
Both were supposed to run crossing drag routes at the same depth.
Was Mahomes supposed to wait another half step to then throw it, and maybe he threw it early? Because, some of these things may not all be on the receivers. A couple plays in the game could be on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, right before that play, the previous play was on Patrick Mahomes because it was 2nd and 2, and Mahomes threw it at the feet of Sky Moore on the RPO. I mean, Sky Moore was open, but it is also a part of they're not connecting. So, I don't know. I can even take that back and go, was it on Patrick Mahomes? I don't know. Maybe Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Matt Nagy would say, well, actually, Sky Moore was supposed to slow that rat down. He's not supposed to run that fast. So when he comes in, he's supposed to kind of just slowly drift into that space. And Mahomes thought he was going to be there, but Sky Moore was over anxious and ran it. Could be. I don't know. But all of it amounts to they were off last night. Was it the banner raising? Was it trying to defend? Was it the distractions of Chris Jones? Was it just a little bit too much to now? Then Kelsey's out. What the deal was, I don't know. But they didn't bring it last night. Offensively, did not bring it. I thought the defense did. And I thought Spags was in his bags last night. Sorry.
What was the blitz rate? Did you find out?
Steve Bagznolo?
I like it.
I don't love it. I'll keep working it.
Stevie Bags.
I don't know what the blitz rate was. I don't think I've seen that anywhere yet.
Matt Derrick said it was
no go slow.
Matt Derrick said it was something like 40%.
Yeah,
maybe. Which certainly is a lot for one game, and it's about making up for Chris Jones, certainly, because Chris Jones makes a difference, which is why they are trying to pay him the money. It's just a disagreement on how much the guy is worth. I mean, nobody
He's
on
just
the
asking for a raise.
Yeah, nobody.
Hopefully, he answered his own question last night with how am I letting my teammates down?
No bleep, dude. I was thinking about that last night. I was going to tweet it. I'm like, nah,
if you didn't realize at the time, maybe you know the answer now.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed. But I was going to tweet. I wonder if somebody asked Chris Jones now how he was letting his teammates down. See, to me, last night was not about people saying he earned more money. I don't think he earned more money last night.
No, I don't think so either.
I think it's the same. I mean, the Chiefs know. It's like, well, you saw what happens without Chris Jones. That's why they're trying to extend him. Yes, that's the extension. We want to keep you here for 3 years because you're important to us. We are going with what the value we think is, and we're off by a number of millions of dollars. Well, without Chris Jones, clearly they know they can't win a game. 10 drives by the Lions and 2 touchdowns?
2 touchdowns.
That ain't they can't win a game, because if the Chiefs go through the rest of the year and give up 2 touchdowns each game, I think they win a lot of games.
They'll probably go 15-2.
I think they'll probably win the Super Bowl if that's the case. Now, that can't be counted on because of depth over the season and talent and all of that stuff, and I don't want to see 93 out there on a 3rd and 2 and have to have it and get picked up and set down 6 yards down the field. Yeah. Okay. Don't really want to see that, but that's because Chris Jones is freaking good, and everybody acknowledges that. It's not like people are saying, well, you get rid of him. He sucks. He's not even worth the money. Yeah, most everybody throughout the season was pay the man, pay the man, pay the man. And now the worm has turned. Now it's, all right, get in there, play. And then showing up last night was a mistake.
I mean, the Chiefs' offer is paying the man. I don't like the people. Some people like draw this ridiculous imaginary line between 27 and 32, right? Listen, if you don't pass 30, then you're not paying the man. Like, I think $8 million a year raise is pretty good, right? And I think so. The second highest paid at his position. I mean, most
third highest paid defensive player.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a slap in the face. It's not like I get it. He wants more and all that. But yeah, no, I think it's. It was a couple weeks ago we talked about our fans turning against him. I think it's the majority are done with this.
Last night was a mistake.
Especially.
Last night was a mistake, showing up flanked by your agents.
Now
at the game,
people also got I think made a little too much of the blue hat. But knowing Chris, I could see him doing that on purpose, right? Just to troll people, and that's what he does.
My son asked if he was wearing a Lions hat. It's like, is he wearing a Lions hat? I'm like, no.
You were like, no, but let me look closer just to be
sure. Let me rewind it
Yeah.
because I wasn't paying attention to the outfit. I didn't really care. But my first thing my son saw was like, is he wearing a Lions hat?
I'm glad you guys are sitting down because I wouldn't want you to fall and hurt yourself when you hear me say this. But Jason stood up.
Yeah, I'm chancing it. You know what? Let's see what happens. YOLO.
Oh, Mick's gonna stand up also.
Oh my goodness.
No. Okay, well everybody just be in a place.
Down.
Oh, okay. Mick's getting to the ground.
Oh,
Mick's trying to do a handstand.
He's gonna do a wall stand.
Okay, not quite
2.
there.
0 for 2.
Don't hurt yourself. But I think the Katz brothers had an unforced error last night. Jason's fainting. That sounded pretty violent. Mick, can you go give him mouth to mouth while I talk about the Katz bros?
I'm up. Here I am. Got it. Hey guys, he playing that. He's playing that. He's been waiting to kiss Mick.
I've been trying to set this up this whole time. I can see that the tension here has been palpable.
Mr. Beauregard.
I
to declare.
I couldn't disagree more, I think, with anyone who is bringing the take of Chris Jones made money last night. He made money last night. All that happened last night is Chris Jones showed up, not on the side. And look, again, we've been team pay Chris Jones. He's elite and worth the money that the Chiefs have offered him. And maybe a little more, maybe a little less than what they want. But he showed up, not on the sidelines where Travis Kelce was in Chiefs gear looking furious, excited for Noah Gray plays and having to put a towel over his head as the game slipped away.
Travis Kelce should have made more money last night.
Yes, he did. He should have.
Travis Kelce looks like the guy who just pulled you over, while also simultaneously looking like the guy who just sold you weed.
Wow, that's an incredible pull, Jason.
On the sideline last
That's
night.
exactly right. He's got great vibes.
Mustaches can go either way.
Exactly.
Can go either way.
And you see him on the sideline going through the emotions of, not the motions, but the emotions of what it must be like for him to not play, to not be out there. The tortured feeling that Travis Kelce has not felt other than for COVID since his rookie season. And Chris Jones, the lasting image of him from week 1 is him sitting between his two agents, bookended, like they are holding him up or like they are there to make sure no audio accidentally gets into his ear canals without them hearing it first. And so what Chiefs fans have now, after a loss where the defense was not the problem, is another level of vitriol for Chris Jones and his agents. And the Chiefs can look at him and honestly say, hey, man, yeah, no, we blitzed a lot. You're right. And that's probably not the way we want to do things. We'd rather have Chris Jones here. But if you do want to go ahead and just keep sitting up there for the next 7 weeks, we'll take you when we get you. Your tag number next year is going to be easier for us to work with. Bleep it, man. We'll survive until you get back. And I think that's a reasonable chance. They won't be a top 10 defense without Chris Jones. But I think last night we saw them survive without him. And now it's just about Travis Kelce's knee. He, like you said, Nick, he's the guy last night who had his reputation brought up a notch amongst Chiefs fans. And I don't think Chiefs fans underappreciated Travis Kelce, but there's always more room to appreciate him more.
Well, and I think Lions fans probably got appreciated last night because they showed up and the secondary market was on fire for them. And I think the ticket prices last night were anywhere from get in to like $145 up to $1.1 million where Chris Jones was sitting. It's an expensive seat.
It was. So
I'm not paying $1.1 million to go to the game. That would have been a hell of a seat. Whoever got that money for that seat that sold it to Chris Jones, good for you.
So we did the deal last night of, okay, if you're hosting a post-game show, you got to leave about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Leave the press box, head out, right? And so we have a television out there, so we're watching it, but of course it's 50 seconds behind. So we base it on the crowd reaction.
Right.
So I get out there, first crowd reaction I hear, I'm like, okay, something's good for the Chiefs going to happen this play. And our photographer's like, no, that's a Lions cheer. I'm like, no way.
It's a
roar.
roar.
It was. Then something happened for the Chiefs. It was much louder, but that first initial roar I thought was Chiefs, and it's a Lions roar.
It's a starved fan base, and good for them that they've got some modicum of success and excitement, that they've got. I don't know if they have a real waiting list there in Detroit. They said they had a waiting list for season tickets. I don't know if it's a real one or like the Carl Peterson and the Chiefs used to say. I'm not sure what kind of waiting list it is there, but they had people at Ford Field watching the game instead of just watching it at their house. They went and watched the game together at the stadium that the game wasn't even being played in. So, good for them. I think they're a fine team. I think a couple of the takeaways and stories last night, one of them being the Lions are a good team.
They're not going
they should be taken. They should be taken seriously as a good team. And if the Chiefs had Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, and Charles Omenihu, the game is different.
I think
so come week 7, if those three guys are, or 8, sorry, if those three guys are out there and Travis Kelce's out there, I think the Chiefs are going to be fine.
I think the Chiefs. What do they have? How many drops do we know?
All of them, every of the drop.
Is it 8 or something like that?
I actually think it got to double digits.
So if it was 11 and if there's 11 drops and they had only 10, I think the Chiefs win, right? Then
yeah,
the last you could have survived 7, 8, or 9 drops.
If Kadarius Toney catches the one that turned into a pick six, the one that should have been that long conversion to get him into field goal range,
just saying,
or
just
Sky
at the very
Moore,
end, for that
if
last,
Sky Moore catches that 4th and 25.
Stop dropping the ball for this final possession.
Yes, absolutely.
The Chiefs had 4 drop passes on 3rd downs, which is the most since 2012, the year before Andy Reid got here.
Most by a Chiefs team or by an NFL team?
Yeah, it's the Chiefs' most 3rd down drop passes since the year before Andy Reid arrived. So third downs. Boy, those drives are extending. You're picking up first downs.
The biggest problem on the pick six, right? Not that it was right there, not that he was looking the whole way in. A lot of times when you see those, it's a fastball when the quarterback doesn't need to throw a fastball. Should be throwing a changeup, and it gets on the receiver a lot quicker than he thinks. That was perfect speed. That was a changeup, right? That was a toss. That wasn't 60 miles an hour or whatever Mahomes can throw.
Yeah.
That was time perfect. He was looking it all the way in.
Yeah. I mean, it just look. I mean, they left plays out there on the field, and they left a win out there on the field.
Well, you know the significance of Brian Branch, right?
I do, because you tweeted about it.
Yeah, I blame myself. I told myself I would be a fan of Brian Branch, his career. He was in Kansas City. He was the one guy. Remember, because there were several guys who were here who didn't get drafted in that first round, and every one of them went home because apparently it's embarrassing to get him drafted in the second round. But he's the only one that stuck around. And for that second day, he finally got picked up by the Lions, and I was in his press conference, and I thought it was really cool. He stuck around, and so
I don't like
he has
him.
that moment in Kansas City, which I'm sure he sees as maybe a little embarrassing, but also a seminal moment, right? Getting drafted in the NFL, and then his first NFL game is also in Kansas City, and he makes the play of his life.
Yeah. Chris Jones also was undrafted in the first round and stayed there for the second round that year. He was not on the field either last night. But yeah, I forgot about the whole Chris Jones being there, even though the whole hugging Roger Goodell, right, and squeezing him and shaking him, which a lot of NFL players would like to do.
Was that in Philly? Were we at Chicago for that draft? Was it
really
New
sure.
York? It
Not
would have
really
been
sure.
2016, right?
But Chris Jones' dad told him, "You're not leaving. You're staying there.
Yeah.
You ain't going anywhere. You're staying." For
Well, it's
the
a
second
great
round.
lesson. I mean, you figure out all these football players who have gone through, the discipline, right, and all the sacrifice to become what they are. You would feel like, okay, I can handle this. I can handle one more night in a 5-star hotel, and then come back and have the cameras on me and face the music and find out my destination.
Chicago that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to stay one more year. There in Chicago for Chris Jones. Going to stay one more year, one more night. And Brian Branch. Damn, I did not remember that was him.
That was him.
So, yeah, I don't like him. I think he should have left, and then somebody else
You
would
know
have drafted
what?
him.
I didn't like him at the time. I liked him all the way up to that play. I like him now. I'm back liking him. It's fine.
What's kind of fascinating is the Chiefs' first two opponents are teams that had the first two picks a couple of years ago, and you start to wonder if the Jags are going to be regretting their number one pick as opposed to taking Aiden Hutchinson. And the Chiefs see Aiden Hutchinson last night and what he was
the one
doing.
guy that the Chiefs could not block last night.
Yeah.
Just could not block consistently well.
Yep. Jawan Taylor had trouble with him. Although, as good as Hutchinson is, I mean, the offensive line held up. I mean, the offensive line was not an issue. This had Tampa Bay Buccaneer Super Bowl feels of how frustrating it was watching the offense, but it didn't have Tampa Bay Buccaneer feels because of how frustrating watching the offensive line. And every time you threw, Mahomes is just going to have to be Superman and going to have to do a triple jump, and then also leaping defensive linemen in a single bound. Guys were not where they were supposed to be. Guys dropped the ball. They were off for a second or whatever. The running game wasn't working. No.
He had one. He was like in the grasp. I thought they were going to blow it dead, but he was able to get the pass off. But that was it.
Well,
it took a couple hits.
I am sick and tired of the NFL freaking protecting Patrick Mahomes and this superstar quarterback on anytime somebody goes low at his legs, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty and a roughing the passer. And I am freaking tired of these protected species of Patrick Mahomes that they do everything they can to protect him. Oh, you can't go low. I mean, the guy rolled into him and grabbed his legs and stayed there. There's nothing he could do, and you still... Oh, wait, they didn't throw a flag on that. No. Oh, it's weird. I
What
thought
about the one?
I thought if you went low at the quarterback's legs, it was a 15-yard penalty, but I guess they don't go out of their way to protect Mahomes.
He came up limping on a third down play. I think it was the second quarter.
that
got
was-
hit from behind.
That was bull bleep. That was bull bleep.
That was late.
That was on Aiden Hutchinson. Pulled him from behind and did the old grab him and fall back.
Yeah.
And it looked a lot like Arden Key last year against the Jags, who was the one that fell on Mahomes' ankle, which is why Mahomes got up and he was pissed and went to the referee. Was like, what? I was standing there. The ball was gone. he runs up and then grabs me and then pulls me down while doing the whole grab and then jump in the air and take your momentum down to their leg, which they were talking about whether or not that was going to be outlawed in the NFL. They decided not to do that in the competition committee. But yeah, I mean, it's a frustrating night. They didn't win the game. They have had plenty of games where they have laid eggs before. Like we said, they lost to the Colts. And I woke up this morning, like, not even that, like, mad. Because I'm like, it's Friday. And the Chiefs lost last night, and that sucks. But they played last night because they won the freaking Super Bowl. Like, it's really hard 7 months after winning the Super Bowl to get so mad and so aggrieved and, like, red face, ripping hair out that somebody has to lose their job. And Veach is the dumbest mother bleeper that has ever walked the earth. And Andy Reid is just living off of Patrick Mahomes, and Chris Jones deserves every of the dollars, and fire anybody. And you know what? Clark Hunt too. I don't care. Fire him too. Who's going to fire him? I don't know. The board
Fire
of
yourself.
Get the board of directors out there. There's not one. I don't care. Find somebody to fire him.
Somebody
I'm pissed.
at GEHA. Get somebody on the phone there.
That's right. I just am not going to bring myself to have that feel after the game last night, because again, I saw plenty of opportunities, and the team is different with Kelsey, Jones, and Omenihu. And
Kelsey Jones, I don't know what's it going to be with Omenihu. I don't know. We haven't seen him play.
I think he'll help.
Yeah,
I think he will certainly help. But it is not without concerns. I am concerned about Sky Moore, because it's a full year of him not doing anything. He's 2 different preseasons of not doing anything.
Looks like an average wide receiver in the NFL.
Looks generic.
There's no, even with Mecole Hardman, right? He would have kind of flashes of greatness, of brilliance. You're like, okay, that's what you can try to tap into. That's what they drafted him for.
Next level.
Okay, that's it.
That's next level speed.
Now it showed up once every 4 games, right, or something like that, and in between was some knucklehead plays, and like, why are you running this route? What's going on here? I don't remember one of those plays. I mean, I know he caught the touchdown in the Super Bowl, but he was open, and anybody could have run that route and been open. And so I haven't seen that flash of like, oh, that's a next level athletic type play there, a burst or whatever. I just haven't seen it.
I'm hoping we're seeing it.
He's got big hands.
He's the one.
He's got big hands.
I mean,
Good
you
for
know
catching.
what that means? A lot of drops.
Big gloves.
Big drops.
Maybe his hands are too big.
Gloves.
It's like Shaq shooting free throws, where it's just like, try to shooting a free throw with a tennis ball or whatever.
Playing a pop-a shot.
Yeah.
It's like, who's the number 1 pick in the draft this year in the NBA?
Wemby.
It's like Wemby throwing the baseball.
Exactly.
It looks like a golf ball in his hands.
Exactly.
It's like, you can't control that. Who can control that? I mean, Sky Moore did have the reception of 17 yards that was called back because of the hold on Donovan Smith. I mean, back-to-back plays on that final drive for the Chiefs. The drop by Tony, and then Sky Moore picks up 17 yards, but it's a hold on Donovan Smith. Then
another drop in there.
Then the drop by Sky Moore.
Yeah.
Yep. Then the drop by Sky Moore.
Then the false start.
Then the false start.
And then another drop by Sky Moore.
And then heave ho.
I don't know if that counts as a drop. I mean,
it got there.
Probably does.
It got there. You say generic or average NFL receiver, that's a pretty good line to draw. Tough catches that you bring in bring you a level up. And if you are going to drop passes that only hit one of your hands or that only barely hit 8 of your fingers, that might be a time you can distinguish yourself a little bit from the pack.
And it's a little bit like the second play of the game when Edwards-Helaire, I believe there was an easy cutback there, but whatever. There's still shots, there's video, all of that stuff. But Jeff Schwartz saying, you know what, I'm actually not viewing this as a mistake by Clyde Edwards-Helaire. His point being, by the time the cutback was there where he would stop and then get and walk through or go through the hole that a semi-truck would be able to drive through, then the Transformers would be able to just drive through and then transform into a person. And his point was by the time he did that, the linebacker would be there. So he made the right play of just following it. And then somebody was like, well, if he does this, he's a running back in the NFL who's good, should be able to cut that back and then take the linebacker one-on-one. And he goes, yeah, that's my point. Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire made the right decision for him. For his play. And that I don't necessarily disagree with, but it's also sort of infuriating that I'd like to see Jerick McKinnon get that play or Pacheco get that play. Do they cut back and say, okay, well, now I'm in the hole with nothing but 10 yards of green grass and one guy Instead, Edwards-Helaire picked up 2 yards. So it's just sort of the difference of the play call was there, but who do you have running it? Where's the dynamism by this offense? Certain players not named Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't there last night. By wide receivers and the guy who they still believe is a valuable guy to hand the ball off to in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like I said, I'll said it about Edwards-Helaire. I'll continue to say it. You need 3 yards. Edwards-Helaire is going to get you 3 yards. If you need 5 yards.
Unless it's 3rd and 2.
That's actually a good addition.
Give me a break.
If you need 5 yards, Edwards-Helaire is going to get you 3 yards.
If you need 3 yards on first or second down against a light box, he'll get you 3 yards.
I think
and if you need 5 yards, he'll get you 3 yards.
Maybe the worst play call last night was the 2nd and 1. It was right before the second field goal. 2nd and 1. They do the jet sweep to Tony. That loses 1 or 2. You know what we saw from the Lions when they had a 2nd and 1? Hurry up to the line of scrimmage, QB sneak, bam, we got a brand new set of downs.
But that's allowed. It's not allowed for all 32. It's allowed for 31 teams.
I think you can only do it if you're the underdog, maybe.
That's actually and how many times are they the underdog?
Exactly.
So that's the problem. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We will raise the roof. We'll give out the ring. We'll do all of those things before the cuts, even right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com in the 810 mobile app.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer hanging out with us. Some KU football coming your way in about 5 hours from now. Yeah, 5 hours. 5 o'clock is when pregame will start for KU right here on Sports Radio 810.
3.5 hours.
I'm going to have to do the calculator thingy. Common Core, I'll get back to you at 7 o'clock to tell you how long it is until
5 o'clock.
It's 5 o'clock. And then when I get there, it's like, well, how long is it now till 5 o'clock? Oh, right. Well, let me start over. Back to the lab again. Oh, there goes Rap again. So KU in action tonight against Illinois. They are now did that line move? It did. No, now 3.5 point favorites. They were 3, moved to 3. It might be 4.
I got them to cover, and I got the over, but I also had the Chiefs to cover in the over last night, so I suck.
Yeah, I told the worst. I told everybody the over in week 1 with Patrick Mahomes was 5-0. Always bet with the streak. Do not bet the streak to stop. So I bet the over. And I loved Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns. I really loved it at halftime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too. Good night, man. He had I think he had a 125 quarterback rating in the first half. He was pretty good.
18 incompletions and double digits drops.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
If you don't want to live that way,
if you think that's bad, that's fine. I mean, if you're being biased towards, a negativity towards the wide receivers. First half, he actually had a 136.2 quarterback rating, did Mahomes. He was 12 of 17, 147 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, without Travis Kelce.
So he was, 8 of 17 or something like that, second half?
I don't even know the math. Again, Common Core. I'll figure it out later. I don't even want to.
Do you want a silver lining? Do you want somebody who Mick is excited about, who I think deserves a little shout out from yesterday?
Well, you know what? I was just going to ask you. If somebody's getting a ring or something, or who you calling?
I'm going to go ahead and call up Mick Schaefer's very own Rashee Rice because look, he had that early drop.
He responded.
You guys all took Sky Moore, right?
Yeah,
I was stupid.
Yeah, I'd like to take that one
I would
back.
love to go back now.
You've gotten
and just go
so much smarter than Wednesday.
But I would love to pick the Lions to win 21-20 if I could. If I had to do over again, that's what I would do.
As we saw wide receivers.
Those dummies that are like, if I had to do over again, I wouldn't change anything. Nothing.
Why not? Nothing.
No, you would change nothing.
Yes,
no, I wouldn't change anything. Really, not like playing the lottery or anything. You wouldn't change anything about your life. Anyway, sorry, Josh.
Yeah, it's okay. I would change some things. You know, I wouldn't change. I would not change my wedding ring, nor would I change wife Renee's ring.
So you wouldn't change the wedding. What about the wife?
Well, listen. Right now, I'm talking about Ruback. Okay.
The one thing I know in my marriage I will not change, and that's the ring.
The ring rules. That I know
what
is
I
good.
will not change. Everything else is interchangeable.
But look, we saw receivers have early drops and then spiral and never get it back yesterday. Rashee Rice, who of all of the guys we're talking about now, had the most questions about his drops to the preseason. He has an issue. He ends up having a couple of impact plays, catches a touchdown in his first game as a rookie, which is not an easy thing to do in an Andy Reid offense. So I'm giving Rashee Rice the ring, courtesy of Ruback Fine Jewelry. You can schedule your appointment for their Everything Must Go sale before it's too late. Amazing deals started at Ruback on August 21st. It's only running through September 16th. They're moving locations, so call 913-649-8811 or visit their website at ruback.co. That's ruback.co. And go get some great deals because they're dropping prices like the Chiefs are dropping footballs. Hello!
Wow. I think we can come up with a few more before the show is over of how many different ways we've talked about them dropping the football. Are you surprised that 5 different Chiefs players received a handoff in the game? None of them named Jerick McKinnon?
Oh.
I'm going to bring that up again just because.
So it's Pacheco, it's CEH, it's Moore, it's Tony, it's was it on that
last
little
play?
Rashee Rice.
Last play, Rashee Rice.
On the Blake Bell to Rashee Rice.
The Blake Bell handoff to Rashee Rice instead of the quarterback or the Belldozer sneak or just touching the defensive lineman that jumped off sides. Just like, boop. Just tap him. You can even just touch him on his nose. Boop. Gotcha. Boop. Gotcha. You're off sides. Boop. Little squeeze of the cheeks. Who's a good defensive lineman?
It's like one of those carnival games. You try to get like the little hook around.
That's right.
God.
Let me see those cute cheeks. I haven't seen my cute little defensive lineman in so long.
I haven't seen a first down in so long.
All of those guys, none of them named Jerick McKinnon. Like that, I mean, it's legitimately shocking because, again, you're talking about guys that it's like, you want some guys that have some burst, and Pacheco's got more burst than Edwards-Helaire, and also they're not just simply running down the line of scrimmage, which hasn't been blocked very well, which goes along to the execution, but that was just sort of a surprise last night as the lack of usage there.
What did he have just the one catch?
He had 2 targets, 1 catch.
The first was the first catch of the season, right? That was a hell of a throw by
it was
Patrick.
third down. It was one of the 3 short distance plays that the Chiefs converted to first downs. All of the play, they had 9 plays of 1 yard or 2 yards to go for a first down, and they converted 3 of them.
Another thing, we had a couple guys. Chiefs had a couple guys stopping their routes last night, like Noah Gray. Hearing some footsteps and a ball he could have laid out for and got, and one other player I remember like, what are we doing? What are we doing out there?
Yeah, a lot of guys got targets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It was
7, 8, 9, 10,
7 different
12.
guys. The first 7 completions.
Yeah, 12 guys got targets. 10 guys got at least 2 targets,
which is fine. That's what he's always been. That's what he's always done. It's just usually there's 87 there, getting 12 targets.
The 2 players that got a target and did not get multiple targets, Edwards-Helaire got 1 and Justin Ross got 1. So there you go.
I'm sad again.
We're going to raise the roof?
Yeah, I want to go back. You mentioned what's happening tonight here on Sports Radio 810.
Oh, that was the ring?
We gave the ring to Rasheed Rice.
Yeah.
That's what's happened already. But now we're raising the roof for the weekend. Who I think is going to raise the roof? I'm giving it to Jalen Daniels.
Okay.
I think he's going to end up having a wonderful comeback performance tonight. I think KU gets the win. You can hear it all right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Game kicks off at 6:30. As you mentioned, pregame starting at 5. And that is brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, Kansas City's local residential and commercial roofing contractors, where one call does it all. Shamrock Roofing and Construction.
Okay.
You have any props to give out or anything? We're just done with all the shout-outs? No props?
I think we're good.
Who gets the hat?
Who gets Mick's hat? Also Rasheed Rice, weirdly enough.
All right, now we're going to figure out who ties the shoes. Coming up on the other side of the break, we will do that. Presented by Laces. Are they in or are they out? I know this. This segment is done. We are out.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Looking for the
WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 sports director, Mill Valley enthusiast.
Yeah, double logo today.
Look at you, man. You better be going to the game.
I am.
Okay, very good. You got away with it.
Yeah.
Okay, you can double logo if you're heading to the game. If you're not heading to a game, don't double logo. Then you're just looking a little bit, obsessed there, guy or gal, whoever. But you're going to the game, so good for you. There is word that with Chris Jones at the game last night, there is word that he is meeting with Brett Veach out at Arrowhead State, or maybe not at Arrowhead, maybe not on the 50-yard line.
Was he in? Do we know?
I don't know.
I also don't know.
I don't know whose suite that
Not
was.
Clark's.
If it was your suite, text in. Let us know if that was your suite. And how did the conversation go?
Did he eat a lot of chicken strips, or was he like maybe in football shape saying, "No, I can't. I'm going to play soon"?
I think one of the videos that I saw was nachos. Maybe?
Eating something. He definitely was eating something in the
nachos.
movie.
I feel
Yeah,
like
he was
that's-
hungry.
That's a food group though for D linemen.
Nachos.
Nachos.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Chicken strips is a food group for my kids. Like, Daddy, I've hit all the 7
And
food groups: chicken
your
strips and
Mickey.
ranch. So there you go. But indication that Chris Jones is meeting with Brett Veach right now. So we'll see if news comes out today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. He's in town, went to the game, and now meeting with Brett Veach. Does that mean he's reporting if he's there? I don't know.
He actually wants to, which is weird, he wants to be paid as a tight end now. It would make less money, but...
Well, it's the same.
I bet he would have caught the ball better.
Probably.
I'd like to see him try it. Well, I mean, last night they could have used Jameer Gibbs as a tight end because they were going to do different things we'd never seen from a running back before. So
Yeah.
they did that last night. He actually was one of the head linesmen on the referee crew. That was odd. He was holding the down marker. It's like Jameer Gibbs right there. He's third down. You guys didn't expect that, did you? It's not even in the game. All right, let's get the cuts before the show is over. All right, Dylan, take it away. What do we got? Let's try to have some fun before we walk out of here for the weekend. Let's do it. Here we go.
Did Nashville have the late, great Shoji Tabuchi? Did Nashville have the Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters?
No.
Does Nashville have the Dolly Parton Stampede? Actually, they might have one, too. Who knows? But
They may. I don't know.
They have
Nashville
Andy,
doesn't have Dolly World either.
Did they have Andy Williams? Did they have Tony Orlando and Dawn?
Talking about Branson, right?
Yeah, he's saying Branson is better than Nashville.
Yep, finally made an honest man out of you.
Finally, it took her long enough.
Yeah, now you can just quit gambling. You'll be fine.
One at a time. One at a time.
We won't even go to the hooch.
Whoa. Preseason, actually. Just call her George. Just calls in on post game a lot.
You went to the hooch.
Went to the hooch.
Good for you. No longer going to the hooch because you're married.
One of the baddest motherfuckers in the league. That's all I'm gonna say.
Boy, it would have been interesting to see him last night. Amir
Who's
Smith,
him and who's
Amir
talking about?
Smith Marset, wide receiver. What do you think of yourself? One of the baddest. He's
not even good as those other guys, apparently.
We'll see in Carolina. Go ahead, next. I mean, the Lions are going to be ready to play. They're going to be ready to play.
It's you.
And it will be a rough Friday to open up the show talking about the Chiefs starting 0-1 and losing on the night that they were raising the banner and defending Super Bowl champs.
I thought that was going to be incriminating from like 2 weeks ago. Instead, you just cracked open your crystal ball.
That's right. And then bet on the Chiefs.
Yep.
So, smart.
I don't see them getting rid of any of those 7, but if it is, I'm thinking Richie James would be the guy to go.
Watch your mouth, Adam. You watch your mouth.
Yes, no. I'm not advocating that. I am not. No. This is not going to be a Shane Buechele versus Matt Bushman discussion here.
You were so mad when Bushman was active, weren't you?
No.
You were so pissed off.
No, the Chiefs agreed with me. The Chiefs absolutely agreed with me.
Oh, you were on Bushman's side?
I was on the...
Matt was mad.
I was on the Shane Buechele. What's the point of keeping a third... you need as many guys as you can to be off a tick on week 1. And if at 3 o'clock Richie James has been released, I will be driving to One Arrowhead Drive. I mean, I will be heading there. There will be signs I'll be holding up. There'll be picket signs. There's going to be some problems there.
Well, make sure you look for me because I'll be there first. I'll be there before. I don't have to wait till 2 o'clock. So
there you go.
I'll be there first.
There you go, Adam Teicher.
Make sure you say hello.
I will do that. If you need a ride, let me know. I'll be heading there anyway.
From a couple weeks ago.
Bring back Bo Pete. Bring back Bo Pete. No nukes. No nukes. So random.
We have a deep archive. It's still last week.
like you guys to go UDFA yourself.
Great. Go UDFA yourself. That's right.
Yeah, Josh, very smart guy. So, we're good company.
Erase that from the podcast. Strike that from the record, please. Object. Sustained. Mark it from the record. Jury, you will not acknowledge anything that was just said. And counsel, you are now warned. One more outburst like that, and you will be held in contempt.
Sorry. Yeah, Josh, very smart guy.
We got to re-rack it. Erase that from the podcast. Strike that from the record, please. Object. Sustained. Mark it from the record. Jury, you will not acknowledge anything that was just said. And counsel,
why do we have to hear it again? I love it.
Now
that's great. Thank you, Dylan.
Warned. Dumb. One more outburst like that, and you will be held in contempt.
You guys made each other laugh quite a bit last week.
Send this to the Library of Congress.
I mean, that's not the worst thing I got. I mean, I think when Matt Moore got to the Chiefs, he thought I was a strength coach.
Oh, did he? Well, that's kind of a compliment.
Sure. Yeah, no, he was like, yeah, no, what's this strength coach putting pads on for? Because he had no idea. He had no idea that I played football.
That's amazing. Why are you putting on? You trying out some pads for other people? That's cool, man. So trying to get my right arm.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do here.
This tricep stretch. Okay, am I going behind my head?
It does kind of look like he'd be a strength and conditioning coach in the NFL. I knew you were high. I could tell, Josh.
That was a Braden Gall, actually.
Nick, Dylan,
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't have a problem speeding. So I haven't had, knock on wood, I haven't had a speeding ticket in decades. So good there. I do really struggle with the frustration of the people that are either going slow in the fast lane because they just lost the concept of it's a fast lane for a reason, or the person that can't maintain a speed. That guy that's like 70 and then 30 and then 50. Yeah, I want to run that guy off the road. So I'm not a violent driver, but I will give plenty of dirty look as I'm going by, which my wife always yells at me like, it's stupid, why are you giving them a dirty look? It's like, I want them to know that I think that they're stupid. If they can't tell by the look on my face, they should roll the window down and I'll tell them.
That's pretty good. I'm $1 on him. He's 100,000 to 1 this weekend at DraftKings.
JJ Yealy?
Yep. Give me $1 to win 1,000. Hopefully, on your drive to the track, the left lane, the passing lane will be clear. People will understand the difference between a yield and a merge, and they'll be able to maintain their speed along the way.
That would be fantastic. I might just bring a sign with me that I can hold up against the window in case they can read. They may not be able to read, but it'll be there to help them with any help that they can have. And then, Sunday's race, 2 o'clock. Looking for good things to happen.
That's driver right there, man.
Put some money on that guy.
Love that.
We start with Craig leading us off here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Craig, what side do you want to start with, the Leisure or the Chiefs?
You're not going to believe this. My boss is calling me right now.
You're already using your
I
phone.
knew I wasn't going to win anyways. And I have to take that. I can't believe this. I've been on hold for 5 minutes. And
so great.
He never came back? Did he call back?
Never
no,
heard
he
from
didn't.
Craig, I don't think.
His boss was calling to tell him, I hope you're not playing Sports or Leisure today. We're on to you there,
I'm
Craig.
on hold on the other line. Get off.
You better not take that McKinnon question. Thank you, Mick. Program next.
Need power protection? Wholesale Batteries provides solutions to meet all your UPS